It's 61 for 3 at lunch, 26 overs bowled, and England have lost Cook for 11. More significantly, though, Westley for 3 and Stoneman for 19, I'm afraid. So we've talked about these places, the 3, if you like, the uncertainties. Well, there's 2 already that have, I'm afraid, have gone today. Malan is still there, not out on a couple. Michael Vaughan's with me. I know, people say, oh, come on, the Ashes is miles away. But, in cricketing terms, it's not really. And, the Gabba, we're lucky enough to have been there many times. The first day of the Test Series, England, Australia, Brisbane, it's immense, the pressure. It really is loud, it's raucous, it's hostile, it's aggressive. And the thought of England batting first there at the moment, I have to be honest with you, if the Aussie full pace attack is there and fit and firing, I'm not sure it's entirely fit for purpose at the moment.
No, that top order looks fragile. I mean, it has done for a couple of years now, and that is a concern for the England management, the captain, the coach, and particularly, the West Indies, you have to give them all the credit. This morning they've been terrific.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, they have. They've got the ball in the right
area.
Big
transformation.
Well, it has. It's just been consistent. They bowled full. I think Shannon Gabriel has brought a consistency in line, pace.
Yeah, pace,
whacked the pitch hard. He's got a little bit of movement. The clouds came around and he started to just wobble a little bit. I thought Roach just dangled that carrot on a full length consistently. We're looking at Stoneman and Westley. They've missed a terrific opportunity. I mean, Stoneman's only played 2 innings. I think this time here he was playing nicely. He just went at the ball a little bit too much. He played a nice cover drive, actually, 2 or 3 overs before, which went for 2. He kept his shape and just timed it. And we were both downstairs, me and Jeffrey, and went, that's nice. Because at Headlingly, on the first morning, don't try and play the big drive. Don't take your hands to the ball. Just kind of keep your shape and just try and time it for 2s. The odd ball might go for 4. But here at Headley, most grounds in England with a duke ball, that if you take your hands to the ball and lose your shape, well, there's a chance that those edges are going to come and it'll carry through to the keeper or through to the slips. That was a mistake for Stoneman. He just went at it a little bit too much. It's his favourite shot, I think. Again, credit to Jason Holder this morning. I feel that they've almost worked Stoneman out quickly, that they know he's an offsided player. They know he likes to drive, and they've said to him, right, OK, you can play that drive shot on 1 or 2 occasions. We're going to pack that offside. So, again, you look towards Brisbane, and I get people get bored of listening. It's all about the Ashes, it's about this series first and foremost, but we have to look towards that first Test match in Brisbane. And Australia, the likes of Hazelwood, Bird, Stark, Cummins, Pattinson, they'll bowl channel to Stoneman. They'll bowl 4 stump full of length and say, go on and drive it with the extra bounce in Australia. Wesley's he is a problem.
Yeah, I think so.
That's a problem. To get out, that's not.
It's consistently the same.
It's just his head's going over to the offside.
Same technical issue.
If your head's going over to the offside, there's no way you can get a balanced base on that front foot. There's no way you can consistently hit the ball down the ground, because all they're going to do to him, they'll go channel, get that head going over to the offside, just nip one back onto the
today
stumps.
he has missed a straight full ball. It didn't do anything, has it? But he missed it LBW because of that, technical issue.
Because of his head, he will feel that the ball's nipped back a long way. Just because his head's in the wrong place, his eye line's away from the ball, it's outside the line of the ball. It's not done a great deal at all. It's just because of his head position.
And the head drags the bat therefore through. So he's playing towards mid-on a lot of the time.
But it's like anything. If the head's the heaviest part of your body, if your head's going over to one side, you try and get your leg going in the 90 degrees the other direction. It's impossible to get a base. It's impossible to get your foot in a nice planted base position to be able to get the bat down with any kind of control. And that's his problem. If you actually look at the moment the ball beats the bat, the inside edge to hit the pad, his front foot, his left foot, he's on his tiptoes. So he's in no balanced position to play a front foot shot at all, and that's a real concern. He came into the Test side against South Africa, timed the ball nicely, played some lovely shots, but at this level, if you do have a technical deficiency, you have to be so tough mentally. But to have that kind of technical deficiency, and already within 4 games, teams have known channel, and then get one straight.
All this video analysis, it's all there for all the bowlers, the coaches to watch.
That's why Test match cricket's hard, Aggers, because you do get analysed, you do get researched more so than you do in county cricket, and you see the same bowlers week after week. It's not like you go and see a different attack the week after. You have a technical deficiency against one county attack, the week after you're not facing them, you're facing another team, and that's why Test match cricket's that much more difficult.
I loved Gabriel's spell to root. That was a terrific spell of fast bowling. The pace was high, the length was really good, the line was excellent. And he should have had him. I mean, it was a straightforward nick to first slip. I'll let you dwell on that, and Dan Norcross will get us off and running after lunch.
Yeah, and that would have been the perfect session for the West Indians if that chance had stuck. And it was a simple one at first slip. You've got to take those, particularly when you're up against a player like Joe Root. You know, I just feel with Joe Root that if you give him a sniff, yeah, there's a chance. You know, this next half an hour is going to be crucial. The likes of Roach and Gabriel are going to have to bowl. Looks like Jason Holder's going to start. I'm surprised by that. I think I'd have just gone straight with Roach and Gabriel, knowing that the next half an hour, if you get 2-3 quick wickets, you really do unlock the door for England. But you know, that catch is one that we may be talking about quite a lot, because you know, it was as straightforward as you could hope for at first. They got it a long way back, and it kind of just went straight to him. Nice height, yard off the ground.
Got into a weird position, didn't he? He sort of did the long barrier.
Yeah,
so
he did.
caught it by his ankle. He didn't, as opposed to opening his knees wider and going down with the hands towards it.
Yeah,
It was sort of almost stretching over himself, wasn't he? Which is a weird position to find himself in. I was talking to Fazir just now about who he would like to see start up, and I suggested, same as you, that Gabriel and Roach. He made the very valid point that Gabriel's had this side injury. They're worried about managing him, and the fear for them, I guess, is that if he does break down through being overloaded. I mean, he and Roach bowled 17 overs between them before lunch. So I suppose there's that danger. But the flip side of that, exactly what you're talking about, Michael, is that you pick up 2 wickets now, and England find themselves 70 for 5, and the game is, well, you've burst through, haven't you?
Yeah, Dan, I think, you know, if you're looking at in an hour's time and kind of worrying what may be, just deal with now.
Yeah.
What is the best thing now? Who does Joe Root not want to face now? You know, they have to get Joe Root out. They've got to get into Stokes. They've got to get into Bairstow within the next half an hour, 40 minutes.
Well, Holder bowled 6 overs for 7 runs. I don't know how penetrating he looked, but crucially, he did what he didn't do at Edgbaston, which is he came on and held up an end. He's in now, right arm over the wicket, bowls to Root. It's a no ball, and it's been cut in the air down towards backward point. It's just going to make it into the boundary for 4. That is not the start that the West Indies wanted. There was the no ball first, and short, wide and filthy from Jason Holder, and it's clattered to the boundary. He's deliberately uppercut that as well.
Well, this is it for the West Indies. You know, they've had such a good first session. Can they back it up? Can they come out in the second section and bowl exactly the same disciplines, same patience? It's a huge no ball.
Massive. 3 inches. 66 for 3 is the score. As a result of that, the scoreboard has not acknowledged the no ball yet. It has now. 2 slips, 2 gullies. Backward point, extra mid-off, mid-on, and a long leg. As Holder is in to Root, who gets a ball that swings away from him ever so slightly, shapes, but from the hand and into the gloves of Shane Dowrich. There's no run. I got a tweet earlier today asking me about the number 3 position and making a point that I think on the face of it is quite valid, which is that England have tended to put new batsmen in straight in at number 3, not starting them at 6, 5 and then letting them work their way up to number 3. As Holder runs away from us with Root in his sights, taps his back, waits, and then he defends a ball from the crease to the second of those 2 gullies along the ground. There's no run. Do you think that's part of the problem, or do you think it's just because, you know, one might argue that Joe Root should be at number 3 and the new batsman coming into the side should be further down the order?
Yeah, that's a decent argument, but Joe Root's such a good player, and he plays so well at 4 that, you know, you look at the 2 that have struggled at 3 this summer. Gary Balance has been, you know, found out a little bit technically, and so is Tom Westley. So I still think those techniques.
Holder in, and that's wide of the off stump, left alone, but again a little bit of shape away into the gloves of Dowrich, who takes it from the first slip about waist height.
You know, if Westley falls over to the offside with his head, it doesn't matter where he's bats. You know, he's going to get out ABW if he keeps falling over to the offside. Gary Balance, I think, would have been better suited at 5. You know,
for what reason?
I just think he's you know, against the new ball going in at number 3. I think your number 3 has to have a little bit more than what Gary has. I think he could be quite a good solid number 5 for England. Holder
in again, and it's a little bit tighter to off stump, but again a very good leave from Root through to the gloves of Dowrich.
That's where he's had his success for Yorkshire. You know, he's you know, I don't think the England fans have seen it as much as the Yorkshire fans have, but he's a very good reader of situations. he plays the situation of the game nicely in that middle period. He'll be probably the first to admit that he's not the style of player strolling out at 3 thinking, right, I'm going to dominate. He likes to give himself plenty of time, but I could see him being a little bit, like the situation reader of play at 5.
Holder in once more, and that's punched off the back foot straight to short extra cover, and there's no run. 66 for 3. How about then, if we're looking at this situation and we can't really find a natural number 3 in county cricket at the moment, do we consider that England might want to look at 3 openers batting at 1, 2, 3? I mean, at the start of the season, there was the expectation that Hasib Hamid would open and that perhaps Jennings would come in at 3. You'd have Cook, Hamid, Jennings, effectively picking 3 openers at the top. As Holder is in again to Root, who lets another full ball swing away into the gloves of Dowrich. Didn't have to play at most of those balls, and the ball that he did play at was a no ball, which he clattered for 4. 5 runs came in the over, 4 off the bat, 1 extra.
I would have gone. I was quite critical of the England's selection for the first test, purely on formation. They went with 6 bowlers. I just don't see that you need 6 bowlers in Test match cricket. If you're going for 2 spinners, well, you only need 3 seamers in it. And if England felt that Lord's pitch that it turned out to be a real ragamuffin, it spun square and it went a little bit low, and he didn't need 4 seamers that week. So they wanted to play Liam Dawson, should have gone 3 seamers, 2 spinners, and just pack the batting. You have all the all-rounders to be able to pack your batting and make the opposition look at your team and go, oh, look at that for a batting line. They bat all the way down to 10 because of those all-round options. And yeah, I agree. I mean, Hasib was completely out of form, not scored any runs for Lancashire. Could have been a time to play Stoneman in that first test and put Keaton Jennings to 3. Balance would have played at 5 then, so it would have given him a better opportunity to succeed at 5. And that means Moeen would have batted right down at number 8 like he is now, which is fine. I think he's such a wonderful gift and a talent of aggression, the way that he plays, that he'd like to bat at 6, I'm sure. But for the England team, I think it's perfect for him to be at number 8.
Malan's facing up to the first ball of the second over after lunch. It's bowled by Shannon Gabriel, who gives him a shortish ball, which goes back into his crease, pushes back up the wicket, no run. But then Aggers makes a counterpoint, which I also think has a lot of validity to it, which is, Chris Woakes is one of the better batsmen. He's proved himself that he can hold a bat in Test cricket. Why pick a batsman that you're not sure of in the likes of Westley and maybe even Malan, when you may as well just pick Woakes? But then you end up potentially with 5 seamers and a spinner, don't you?
You don't need 5 seamers. That confuses you. As a captain, you have too many options. You end up not bowling someone who's bowling well enough because you've got all these options.
Gabriel in again to Malan, short and cut up and over, down towards the backward point boundary for 4. He quite deliberately got up underneath that and smashed it to the boundary. Not that dissimilar from Root's 4 in the previous over. It's too short, it's too wide, and in so doing, Malan in that one ball has more than doubled his score from the previous 32 balls.
What you could find is if Malan does well at 5, he could go to 3. And England may look to bring balance back at 5.
Right,
that's your lineup pretty much sorted. I mean, you need an opener and Stoneman. I can't see it. You've had 2 innings of Stoneman.
Can you see balance going to Australia? I mean, I suppose it's possible. 70 for 3, I should point out. Malan to 7 with that boundary. As Gabriel waits at the top of his mark. He's got a short mid on, a short mid off. 3 slips in a gully now. That second gully's now joined the coven of slips. And the next ball is full and defended back up the wicket. Picked up by mid on. There's no
But
run.
you've got to think that he has a very good chance. I mean, by him not being in the side, he's probably improved a little bit in a way.
It's off the way, isn't it?
Yeah, but he deserves the right. He's scored so many runs for Yorkshire this year, and they just battered him in the wrong position. At least play him in his rightful position at number 5 and just see.
This happens a lot, doesn't it? That people come into the England team and don't play precisely where they want to play or where they should be playing. I mean, Moeen Ali would never have been batting at 8 for Worcestershire, would he? And probably wouldn't have been bowling the overs as an off-spinner either, for that matter. As Gabriel is into Malan, who clips this. A fine leg glance.
You've got to remember that.
Roach, they pick up a single.
You've got to remember, we're always thriving and trying for perfection, like the perfect team. Very rare do you get a perfect team. And a perfect team would be that, England had Trescothick going in with Cook, Jonathan Trott at 3, and then you go for someone like Graham Thorpe at 5, and then you've got a tremendous England Test match team. Well, when England were powerful a few years ago, they didn't have a 7, 8, 9 like England have now. Back in my day, we had a a good top 6. We had a wicket-keeper batsman in Kieran Jones at 7, which, he
Well, you had the perfect balance, didn't you?
But we didn't have the power of the lower order like England have.
No.
So it's always we're looking for this perfect Test match team, and at the minute it's not there.
No, because the batting is mostly in the lower order. As Gabriel bowls to Root, who pushes a full ball up to mid-off. And there's no run.
But what you will say is, the next few weeks for the county players and those that are on the periphery, Alex Hale's playing for Notts. You're looking at Joe Clark at Worcester. Brown, I like Brown. I think Gubbins is injured, but these players that have been mentioned and talked about, Hassie at Lancashire, go and get 2 or 3 hundreds. One thing's for sure, if someone goes and gets 2 or 3 hundreds over the next few weeks, they're going to give themselves a great opportunity of getting on a flight to Australia.
And there are 4 or 5 rounds of county championship matches. Is it 4? I think it's 4. As Gabriel is in again to Root, who gets a very full delivery, which he digs out, makes a horrible noise on the bottom of his bat. End of the 28th over, England 71 for 3, Root 28, Malan 8. Peter Dodds on email has said, when are England going to call up class international cricketers like Hales, Morgan and Butler? Now, here's a man we've not been talking about, Butler, with 2 T's, because the Aussies will have this lot for breakfast. Surely winning the Ashes comes first, beyond stupid selections. If Varney can spot their problems, the Aussies will already be licking their lips. Well,
first and foremost, let's tick those off. Owen Morgan doesn't want to play red ball cricket. I think if he doesn't see a red ball again in his life, he will be delighted. So he's out the way. Josh Butler, he just hasn't played enough red ball cricket.
But when he didn't, and he came in against India last year.
Just different conditions, though. I mean,
yeah, but he got 70 odd, didn't he? I mean,
he did. At times in that series, he looked a quality player. But I think in terms of the red ball, you generally need to be able to face seamers, and be able to stop
in
a few
Australia
seamers as well. Yeah, I think he'll be the first to admit that he needs a few red ball runs for Lancashire.
Holder in with 2 slips, 2 gullies to Malan, who thinks about playing at a ball that's too wide, and it dies on Dowrich, who takes it on the bounce in front of first slip.
Hales is certainly someone I would potentially have a look at again.
In the middle order?
Yeah, 5. I think he's made the call at Nottingham this year that he went to the coach Peter Moores and said, look, I don't want to open, I want to bat in the middle, and it's worked for him. Full credit for him for saying that and admitting that's where he wants to bat.
Can I set Andrew a task, because I think it's germane to this conversation. There's Holder bowls a ball that comes back into Malan. He works to short mid-wicket, no run. Can you tell me when Australia lost their 5th wicket in the first innings of the 5 matches they won on the last Ashes tour? I have a suspicion that they lost them relatively early,
130, wasn't
and then scored a lot of runs after it. And the reason I bring it up is because
Haddon, wasn't it?
Haddon, exactly. Now, England's strength, you might argue, lies in Stokes 6, Bairstow 7, Moeen 8, Woakes 9, Broad slightly less so, but at 10 and 11. So, as Holder is in again to Malan, wide of the off stump, took the keeper, no run. I'm thinking, as that ball gets a bit softer in Australia on those pitches, those horribly hard pitches and hard outfields, it's overs sort of 35 to 80 that you can cash in, and England have got a lower order to cash in, haven't they?
What was the guy's name on the email? He made the one point that I liked. Philip, who sent in the email about Morgan, Butler and Hales, was that if England are another like Stoneman who's not played Test match cricket, Westley not played Test match cricket, Malan's only just starting in Test match cricket. If they get to the end of this series against the West Indies and none of the 3 have really kind of taken the, it may be for an Ashes tour. I don't think you can unearth players in an Ashes away tour. I just don't think it's right to send someone fresh out of the box to go and play in Australia for the first time. I think you need a little bit of time in Test match cricket before you actually arrive there, just to get used to it, because it's a different environment in Australia. It's just completely anal to anything else that you'd ever play in.
Well, they're a feral bunch. Next delivery, he's bowled him through the gate, round the wicket came Holder. He changed his line of attack, and Malan was looking to drive this full ball through extra cover. It's gone between bat and pad, and it's kissed the stumps. That's the end of Malan. England have lost their 4th wicket. They're 71 for 4, 15 minutes. Oh, he's got a little inside edge on that, actually. Dragged it back onto the off stump. Holder is jubilant. And the West Indies, well, they're an entirely different outfit from the one that conceded 540 odd runs at Edgbaston. Suddenly, England 71 for 4. We're only in the 29th over, and Stokes is going to be coming out to join Joe Root.
Well, for every one of these new players to the side that go to the crease. It's almost as if the administration team at the ECB are having to work overtime with their tickets for Australia. It's like, well, kind of penciling in names for that Big Bird trip down there, which players are going to get the tickets. Well, it's going to be, it's Phil Neal, the England manager, that does a lot of the work, and the team at the ECB, they're going to have to work out. It's going to have to be a late lastminute.com, the booking forms. And that's a poor stroke. Again at Headlingly, these conditions, the West Indies have got a little bit of fortune with the clouds, but
first ball he bowled round the wicket. I mean, it was clever.
But again, you're pushing your hands to the ball. You've just got to play it that little bit later.
Well, this is a situation. There's some cloud cover. There's a little bit of movement. We've seen Holder's got. I mean, it's been sort of from the hand. It's not been late movement.
That's what I was saying down before the wicket is if England's inexperienced new players are not going to be able to take the opportunity. It probably is worth going for someone like Hales, who at least knows international cricket. Has had success with the white ball. He looked okay on a few occasions in the Test match arena, but then kind of got overawed by it. Tried to play too technically correct. Tried to play like Jeffrey. Alex Hales hit the ball. His strike rate was lower than Alastair Cook's when he went out to bat with Alastair. So maybe it is that England should go for someone that at least got the know-how of playing international cricket. We're going somewhere else now, and she'd probably unearth a younger player or two, but you can't take that to Australia.
Well, as Agger said of the Gabba. Next delivery from Holder is still round the wicket and forward in much more immaculate defence. The shot actually that Dawid Malan should probably have played to that full ball outside off stump, defended the offside. There's no run. Andrew, do you have an answer for me?
Yes. So the first test at Brisbane, Australia were 100 for 5.
What did they get?
295.
Yeah.
Second test, Adelaide, that was by far their best performance for the first 5 in the first innings.
Yeah.
257 for 5. But they still went on to make 570.
Yep.
Third test at Perth, 143 for 5. Finished up with 385.
As Holder is in 3 slips and a gully to Stokes, who just defensively on drives up to Kemar Roach at mid-on. There's no run. End of the over, a successful over for the West Indies and for Jason Holder. 1 for 12 he has from his 8 overs. England 71 for 4. Root has 28. Stokes yet to score. So we're up to Perth, and we've got Melbourne and Sydney to come.
Yeah, Melbourne 112 for 5. Australia, they only made 204 in that one. But then at Sydney, 97 for 5, 326 for 9.
Well, that's my point. I mean, there's lots of runs to be made after the 4th or 5th wicket, and you'll know better than anyone, having played down there, that the new ball in Australia is crucial, and then it gets easier to bat on those. I mean, those wickets, the average first innings score in Australia is about 70, 80 runs more than it is in England.
Yeah, it's a good place to bat.
To be made.
Yeah, but you need players at the top of the order that can give you a foundation to allow those players to go out and play so well.
Gabriel is into Root, and Root leaves this very well outside his off stump through to Dowrich. We got another email from Arlen, who hopes that we can shed light on the following. All the TMS commentators talk a lot about Westley getting out the same way every time because of a technical problem with his batting. We hear about technical problems for players like Balance and even Cook occasionally hanging his bat out to dry, which the Aussies will exploit with their left-arm bowlers. Can you please tell me exactly what the batting coach does to earn his wages?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be realistic there. The batting coach with England's side, he gets given these players. He doesn't pick the players. So these players arrive, and Mark Ramprakash is the batting coach. He'll just work with them on a Tuesday, Wednesday, leading into the games.
Gabriel's into Root down the leg side. Would have been a leg side wide in one-day cricket, but taken by Dowrich, moving swiftly to his left.
You've got to also, the sports out there have got to understand that it's so difficult to, so Tom Westley gets selected. I'm sure he works, maybe, I don't know who he works with down at Essex. Graham Gooch maybe, or Anthony McGrath's the assistant coach down there, and they'll be working on something. And what the England setup will do, they'll just try and ask him what he works on and try and have a look at him. But what we've seen already with Westley is that head position is crucial. So if you mark Ramprakash now, yes, his role is to go to Tom Westley and say, can we have a chat? We do need to change that head position, because wherever you're going to be falling over to the offside, it's going to be a big issue.
Gabriel in once more to Root. He drives and edges along the ground through to second slip. A loose shot from Root. It was very, very full indeed. And he's shaking his head somewhat, is Root, at that.
Well, he's just... I think sometimes Shannon Gabriel just does the batsman for pace. And that was a full-length ball. I mean, visually, you shouldn't be losing the ball with the side screens down the bottom end. It's huge, isn't it? It's a big white board and another bit of like tarpaulin white behind it as well.
It's a full toss. I suppose sometimes you might miss that He's furious with himself because he just needs to lay bat on that, and it would have sped through extra cover for 4. There's a lot of space for him to play into out there. As Gabriel bowls again on the leg stump, he tries to work it at the onside, gets turned round by it. The leading edge goes out to wide mid-off, and there is no run. 3 slips, gully, cover point, that wide mid-off, long leg, sort of just in front of square leg.
The problem Westley has now, Dan, that he walks out in the second innings, and the one positive for Westley is that England haven't batted that well, and there's a chance that he will get a second innings. They're not going to get a huge score from 71-4. They may do, but you'd think that they're not going to get a monster to think that they're not going to get a second innings. So he will get a second chance. When he goes out to bat and say, what does he think? Technique? Does he think watch the ball? And that's when it becomes a real challenge for him.
Gabriel into route again. Lets one much closer to his off stump go through. And he's still got his bat above his head, holding the pose through to the keeper. Dowrich once more, no run, 71 for 4. But generally, the England batting coach, eyes would be on him, won't they?
That's.
But the problem, part of the problem, surely, is that the England batting coach isn't expecting to deal with players who've got fundamental flaws in their technique. He's probably dealing with the finishing touches.
Yeah, he is, and you just try and fine tune at the highest level. You just kind of give them little pointers or technical awareness, or kind of work on the angles of the bowlers that they're going to be facing.
Gabriel in to complete the over, and it's pushed into the offside, fielded by the gully, who moves to his right to field on the bounce. End of the over, 71 for 4. England going nowhere. 30 overs gone. Root has 28 from 58 balls. Stokes has yet to score. Mulling on this and many other things will be Michael Vaughan, and then the Imran Khan, the Kapil Dev of Test Match Specials team, Simon Mann, will replace me.
But there's an indoor school. I think it's sometimes that when you're in a Test match, people say, "Oh, you can't change during the game." Well, you can. You can go in that indoor school and you can work. You can go and hit 2 or 3 hours of balls. Just get on the machine and just work. The coach Mark Ramsey has to throw your balls. Just do anything you can to try and get your head in a better position. Give yourself a better chance. Come in early in the morning, hitting more balls. Just keep hitting balls. Cricket is a funny game where you hear it say, "Oh, I don't need to hit too many balls." I've never understood that. I always look back at my career, and when I was playing it, I hit loads of balls in practice. Just kept hitting balls, kept on grooving what was working well. And I always look back and think, well, why did I go for that running bad form? My mind was all over the place at times, and I stopped working and hitting the amount of balls that I would do if I was out of form. When you're out of form, you hit loads and loads of balls. It gets you back in form, and then when you get him back in form, you kind of go, "Oh, I won't hit as many balls." Tom Westley getting that indoor school, hit loads of balls. Just try and work on that head position.
Good afternoon, Mike. Now we've got a problem here because they can't get the advertisement off the sight screen down beneath us. They almost did it, but it almost flicked over to all white, but there was still just a hint of the sponsor's logo. And it's great for the sponsor because they're getting lots of airtime. There's a very worried-looking member of the ground staff down there trying to sort it out, and I'm not sure they can. This is hugely frustrating. It really is. So there's going to be a delay in the play at the moment. 71 for 4. I feel sorry for the gentleman whose job it is to try to turn it from the sponsor's logo to completely white. He just can't work out what's gone on down there. Anyway, we're going to in for a delay here. I don't know how long it's going to be. Here's Bruce Pike on email. The answer to England's batting order issues are... Well, he hasn't got openers, but presumably Cook. Hales at 3, Root at 4, Bairstow at 5, Stokes at 6, Moeen at 7, Woakes at 8. So then who bats 9, 10 and 11?
Well, obviously people on Twitter are saying the same. Just put Woakes at 8, put Moeen down, and Bairstow down. That means you've got 5 seamers. And the reason why England have got a luxury is because they've got all these all-rounders. Now the South African side, which was probably a tougher team to beat back in the early, late 90s, early 2000s, Klusener, Pollock, Boucher,
Macmillan.
Yeah, they didn't suddenly go with 5 seam bowlers. They just packed the batting. England to win in Australia, they have to get big runs. Well, so I just think that they have to find batsmen. Yeah. You need 5 proper batsmen to be a high-class Test match team. England have got to find a couple of players.
The problem is now, I totally take your point. You can't just say to someone, welcome to the Gabba. Here's your Test debut.
Someone's just
Batter
tweeted,
number
yeah, but
3.
Ben Stokes made his debut. He got 100 in Perth. Ben Stokes is a freak. He's going to be one of the greatest that plays for England. There's not many young batsmen that arrive in Brisbane. 40,000 Oz wanting your blood. That roar, I mean, the roar of that Mitchell Johnson spell. Don't know what evening, was it the third evening, the second evening?
Second evening.
Oh,
Well,
that
it was
hostility.
the second evening, fourth evening,
First day, second day.
Second test, third test, fourth. Yeah, it was just continuous.
But the problem, I mean, the 3 dismissals of the 3 players that will get all the, whatever England do today, all the column inches tomorrow will be about 3 batsmen. And they've all made 3 huge errors. And people say, oh, it's a fine line. Of course it's a fine line, but, you know, those that can don't make those errors as often as some that don't have the mental capacity or whatever it is that you require. They just don't make those errors.
Well, we're getting down that list, aren't we?
Simon Mann, what do you reckon? Could you fill that hole at 5?
Well,
like a blood, you know. You have what I like about you, Simon, is that when I pick you with the rhubarbs, I don't know how many you got. Yours 3. I knew you had a bit of steel in you. You've got that winning mentality. That kind of whatever it takes to get over the line. You were just going to get over the line, weren't you?
Well, it was that winning mentality that Graham Swan didn't seem to like.
No, he didn't. Has he spoken to you yet?
Yeah. Right.
The lads had a set on the floor, Stokes.
Well, they've just been sitting down there, Ben Stokes. They've sorted out the sight screen. Now, dare they turn it back to the sponsor's logo for the next day? That's the problem for the gentleman down there. He was a very worried man. His contraption, I presume he's responsible for it, has held up a test match for, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes. It's felt like that anyway. Anyway, we're about to resume. It's just a test here for Stokes to keep his concentration, because he's only just come in, so he will be able to try and get his head right. He gets the ball outside the off stump, and there's no stroke. Holder Bollington from round the wicket.
Chris Pugh here, he's got Moeen Ali opening the batting.
Well, they tried that in the UAE, that didn't work,
I'm not
did
so
it?
sure about Moeen against that new Kookaburra.
You have to make
Stark and co. Look at this one, he's got Moeen, Cook, Root, Bairstow at 4, Joe Clark. Worcester, he's a good player, but again, I don't think it's right at this stage. Stokes, Hales at
7.
Butler, Woakes, Broad, Anderson.
Holder moves into bowl very wide of off stump, almost a wide. In fact, it is a wide. Signalled by umpire Gaffney. The first one we've seen today. We've seen a few wide balls. There's one earlier on that I just thought, well, that's got to be called, but it wasn't. Anyway, 72 for 4.
Hey, Steve Armison's here. Hi, Steve.
Happy series.
Oh, yeah. And his daughter, Abby. A family affair. Are they all here, Steve?
No, just...
He's got about 20 kids, haven't you?
72 for 4. Stokes yet to score. We've got 3 slips and a gully in, 2 saving, 1 on the offside, 2 on the on and a fine leg. And Jason Holder bowls, and Stokes has plenty of time to get in behind that and hit it crisply up towards mid-on.
It's been one of those series and a few test matches, isn't it, where there's been a few players out of the side become that much better.
Well, back balance is
balance
a case in point. I mean, you were talking about him again. Hales is another one, but he's actually got runs domestically as well.
Hasib Hamid, he's the saviour.
I wonder whether in 2 or 3 years' time, 3 or 4 years' time, when Hamid is, notching his 600 for England, we'll look back on this time and say, well, the answer was obvious. Holder bowls outside the off stump. There's no stroke from Stokes, and it's through to Dowrich. But I can totally understand why the selectors didn't pick him at the start of the summer. He was just nicking off the whole time.
Yeah, he was struggling.
He'd come back from the finger injury as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that if he finishes the season well for Lancashire, he'll be on the plane. Probably as that reserve opener with a chance of playing.
One other interesting thing that happened today was that Keaton Jennings was on the ground, because there was I don't know how much of a doubt there was over Cook, but he didn't
apparently
play.
Had
the knee problems.
He got. I think he had a bite on the knee.
Here goes Holder over the wicket now to bowl to Stokes. And Stokes comes forward, plays a nice looking stroke, but fielded by the bowler off his own bowling, and there's no run.
Yeah, apparently Alastair Cook got bitten on his knee, and it was kind of a spot, and he tried to squeeze it, and I believe it got infected, and then he got hit on it yesterday in the nets, and it ballooned up.
Right.
So there's a real... He had a fitness test. I mean, he didn't take part in the football.
No,
And that's a big
no.
thing for Cook. He likes his football in the morning.
But the person who was on the ground, in case he didn't play, was Keaton Jennings.
So there you go. He's clearly still in the selector's thoughts.
Holder bowls. Stokes plays that firmly away, square with the wicket towards backward point. It's picked up by Roston Chase, wearing the sun hat. And there is no run.
The problem with those three positions, 2, 3 and 5, it's all now become it's such a mental game, isn't it? Because no one's succeeded in those positions for a while now. It's kind of like the curse.
Yeah.
Whoever gets picked, and you can get, Stoneman got a Jaffa last week. That was a beauty. I'd persist with Stoneman. I mean, I know he played an iffy shot today, but I just think he can play a bit. So you've got to eventually stick with someone for a while.
Holder bowls, and Stokes goes after this one. Bowled across him, right arm over the wicket to the left-hander. Stokes was tempted. He did not hit it. It was through to Dowrich. It's the end of the over, 72 for 4.
But you do need a return for your investment. That was the problem with Keaton Jennings, that he just kept on getting out the same way. And you can't just keep going with that. Stoneman will have to, I'm sure in the second innings or at Lords, he'll have to get 50 plus.
It's extraordinary the run, though, isn't it, of players that have come in and not succeeded. I mean, normally, we could say Hamid was one player who looked, he did take his chance, didn't he? And he got that unfortunate injury. But normally you are light on somebody who you think, right, yeah, we've got it right this time, or this person's got what it takes. But it just hasn't happened. This is Shannon Gabriel. He's bowled 10 overs so far, 1 for 21. With pace as well, and he's into bowl to Root, and Root is beaten outside the off stump. He had to play at it. It was close to the off stump. Root leaning forward and just slid past the edge through to the keeper.
Well, I'm going to leave Victor to answer all the questions.
71 for 4. Malan, the player out since lunch, bowled by Holder for 8 via the inside edge. Cook was out for 11. Stoneman caught via the inside edge before lunch for 19, and Westley LBW to Roach for 3, playing across a straightish ball. 61 for 3 at lunch, so England have not made a great deal of progress since the interval. 11 runs in half an hour. We're so used to the ball disappearing to the boundary, but it's been a very disciplined bowling performance from West Indies today. Gabriel moves in, bowls to Root outside the off stump. Root lets it go, and it's taken by Dowrich. Much as anything, Root's just feeling the pressure out there at the moment because of the match situation. And the pitch seems okay. It's overcast, but it's not heavily overcast. It's not one of those sort of murky Headlingly days that we have become used to over the years. It's overcast but fairly bright. But England struggling here. 72 for 4. They need to knuckle down. Otherwise West Indies could roll them out for, 200. They might do so. Gabriel from the football stand end, past the umpire now, bowls to Root, and Root is in behind that, playing that nicely away up to Bishoo, who we haven't seen his leg spin so far. Picks up at mid-off, and there is no run. Victor is here, and just to continue the theme, the conversation we were talking about, England got those problems in the top order. I know you posed the question, well, who would you have picked over the years? Talking about the selectors and who they picked. Who would you have picked? I mean, is the question that's been posed, and who would you pick now? It's not that obvious. It's easy to drop people, but it's not easy to call them up. Not with any confidence, anyway, necessarily. 3 slips in the gully, waiting for the outside edge. It's Gabriel roaring into bowl to Root. He gets a full ball. He drives, doesn't really time it. He's going to get runs. He might get 4. Chases after it. He does not get there. That didn't come out of the middle of the bat. It bobbled away into the offside. And it was a big drive from Root, so there was enough force in the shot to take it over the boundary rope in front of the West stand.
In fact, it was just a full toss, wasn't it? Quite a quick one, but he got it on the full, probably on the bottom of the bat.
He hit it hard into the surface, just took some of the pace off it. Root goes to 32, England 76 for 4.
The umpire would do Gabriel a favour by telling him he's very close to on that front line we happen to see on that replay.
Let's have a look. Or if he dismissed Root there, I think that would have been a no ball, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
I think so.
So therefore it probably was a no ball now. So
here is Gabriel. Muscular action, bowls to Root down the leg side. Root tries to glance it away and misses, and it's through to Dowrich. And we haven't said that very often today. Well, we had 2 hours and 35 minutes of play, I haven't said down the leg side very much.
No, they've bowled with great discipline, the West Indies, and Gabriel's bowled with good pace. It's not his best over, this one. And it's obviously not easy because Root has looked quite mortal. He's been the best of the England batsmen. He's got 30 of the 76, 32 of the 76. But even he's made to look as if it's a bit of a struggle to get his runs. Usually he gets off to such a flyer.
So have we misread the pitch, or West Indies bowling just very well?
Well, I think it's not quite such a belter as we kind of vaguely assumed it would be. A bit of cloud cover, I suppose.
Gabriel roaring into bowl to Root, and he goes right through. Was that another low full toss? It might well have been. It was outside the off stump. Root looks back as if to say, well, I just didn't see that. I didn't pick it at all. It wasn't anywhere close to a beamer or anything like that. I think it was a low, fast, full toss outside the off stump. I think so. Anyway, that's what I saw in my initial impression. We get confirmation.
You're right, yeah.
That's exactly what it was. It was about, when it got to Root, it was probably about knee height, something like that.
Maybe a bit lower than that, I think. But no one really picked it up at all. So it is not easy. You look at the footholds sometimes, and we look at Gabriel's footholds, and he pounds in, and they're quite dark, and it just suggests a little bit more moisture there. For some reason, partly because the West Indies, as I say, have been very disciplined. Holder gave nothing to Malan, in particular, is that they've bowled with great discipline.
Here goes Holder. Into bowl to Stokes, who's still yet to score outside the off stump. There's no stroke. It's through to Dowrich.
And it doesn't look like one of those pitches where you can just sort of swing through the line, trust the pitch entirely, trust the pace, and get runs easily, which can be the case on a belter at Lords or something like that. It looks so easy, but not today.
Well, it's always good to play on a pitch where there's something there for the bowlers, where the batsmen have to struggle a bit. This makes the game far more interesting, and that's what West Indies are doing today.
And of course, we're all diving to our pens in the press box, as one does. Root on 8, dropped Kieran Powell 44 for 3.
There's Holder bowling. Forward goes Stokes, plays that nicely in defence to mid-off. And there is no run. Bishoo there. Yeah, and that's
I mean, you know,
if you drop a difficult one, you think, well, on our day, it might have stuck. But when you drop a straightforward one...
And it's the best player in the match. And he's still batting.
And Kieran Powell, the guilty man at first slip.
And he was starting to walk off. It was not, by slip catching standards, that difficult. Root was just turning round to head disconsolately towards the pavilion. But he didn't have to continue.
Here goes Holder, bowling to Stokes, who tries to clip this into the onside. Well, he succeeds, but not with any power. It goes to mid-wicket. And it is picked up by Blackwood. And there is no run. Did you feel much in the slips?
I had phases in the slips, but then there were times when I had to go.
Right, okay.
But when I was captain, I felt its first slip quite a lot.
Just talk listeners through the difficulty of fielding at slip. Then, why do players at slip? They do all the practice. Why do they drop such straightforward catches?
Being relaxed on the one hand, but being able to concentrate like a batsman on the other.
Holder bowls full on Stokes' pads there. He clips that past mid-wicket for 4. It was in the air. It was a dive from Blackwood to his right-hand side. He could not get there. It was hit very powerfully by Stokes. And Stokes is underway with a boundary. 80 for 4.
Yeah, well, that was off the meat of the bat. On leg stump, a rare opportunity, but it was in the air for a while. If it had gone straight towards that fielder, it was catchable, but he timed it well and missed the fielder. Not entirely a matter of judgment, that. So he's off the mark at last.
Holder tries once more, bowls to Stokes. He's in behind that, playing defensively up to mid-on, and there's no run. So it's about...
So at first slip, it was a question of, you certainly watch the ball, and you've got to get that happy, as I say, medium of being relaxed. So you've got hard hands tense, but you obviously have to pay attention.
What happens if you don't get the ball? You might feel for 4 hours
yeah, well,
touching the ball.
Well, that's the difficulty. I mean, everyone can catch them in practice by and large because you know
it's coming.
You know it's coming, but you never know it's coming.
Holder in to complete the over. Bowls to Stokes outside the off stump. There's no stroke. And that is the end of the over. It is 80 for 4. I'm looking around, there are lots of people who are not on our commentary team in the box at the moment.
You're looking for one of them to come and commentate.
I can see Fazir in the back of the box there.
But
he's
just
going
to
to pick up the commentary.
Continue to talk about this slip catching thing. Then at second slip, well, you'd wonder, do I watch the ball or do I watch the bat? On rare occasions I found myself at second slip, I watch the bat. But I know, for example, a lot of people, Ian Botham, for example, used to watch the ball. And then when you get wider than that, round about third slip, you almost always, I think, watch the bat. And certainly in the gully, you would watch the bat. But the hardest part was being, as I say, being able to concentrate on the one hand and be relaxed so you're not tense and hard-handed and you drop the ball on the other.
It is so much about concentration, isn't it?
It's a lot. It's
Concentrating, like switching on the right
you've got
button
to.
as well.
Yes, it's a bit like commentating. You've got to press the right button.
Exactly. Or maybe it was intended that it should be off before the first piece of rubbish for the afternoon. 80 for 4. Root on 32. Stokes on 4. Gabriel 1 for 25. Looking for a second wicket. Should have had Root. Didn't. And now he's coming in again to bowl to the England captain. Lets that go by outside the off stump. But yeah, that's the challenge of Test cricket, isn't it? Especially with T20s, shorter format of the game, one days. Yes, you still got to be concentrating for long periods, but Test match cricket, you can be standing there watching runs pile up all day, and then the low edge comes to you in the last over of the day. You got to be ready for it.
Yeah. I mean, looking at the England side, I can remember, you won't like to hear this, but Alastair Cook, when he first came in the England side, he did actually field at slip, but he dropped a few, and no one quite knew where to put him in the field because he's not a great athlete. He ended up at bat pad for a while, by default, by a process of elimination.
Gabriel, straight approach, muscular man, bowls, and it's a full-length delivery. And again, the extra pace of Gabriel causing problems here for Root. A bit late on the shot, bit of an inside edge, bottom edge into the pad.
Yeah, he's bowled well, pace and a little bit of movement there. Not many free runs from Gabriel.
Well, you talk about newcomers going under the helmet. Isn't that the default position for newcomers?
Well, yeah, but there's no logic in that in the modern professional
the
league.
logic is that he's the most dispensable, isn't he?
Well, yeah,
unless he's some brilliant God-given.
If the catchers are going, they're off a spinner all the time. You want a good one there as well. But the point about Alastair Cook is that he's made himself over the years into a really dependable slip catcher. He's confident now.
Gabriel to Root wide down the leg side and a good take by Dowrich. Saw it all the way. It was really telegraphed as it sprayed down the leg side from the fast bowler. And it remains 80 for 4. The West Indies players wearing black armbands. The mother of the bowling coach, Roddy Estwick, passed away. The mother, whose first name is Sylvestra. And that immediately had us thinking, because they're half brothers, Sylvester Clark and Roddy Estwick. But actually, it's the dad. The dad is similar, the mother, different mothers. But interesting that her name would be Sylvester. Sadly passed away yesterday. So sad moment for Roddy and the West Indies cricket fraternity. As Gabriel wide outside the off stump, really bending his back, extra effort in this first afternoon here at Headlingly. But Root just shouldering arms.
I mean, the dilemma for Holder, I mean, it's going well for Holder, is that he's obviously got the three-seam attack. He's bowled really well. He's got Roach up his sleeve. Then he turned, rather surprisingly, to Chase for his spin. And Root immediately sensed, hang on a minute, it's not very easy against the quicker bowlers here. I'm not going to dally when Chase is bowling. And he played him very well, very positively, and runs suddenly came easily. I was surprised he didn't go to Bishoo. I don't know.
Very surprised.
Who is his senior spinner.
Although, as I mentioned earlier, he tends to do that quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
As Gabriel bowls to Root and is pitched up and well stopped by the bowler. Was driven back at him. Always difficult for a big man, a fast bowler, to get down. He blocked it and possibly saved 4 runs there. So maybe I really shouldn't have been surprised, because he does this quite often. Jason Holder uses Roston Chase before he goes to a Devendra Bishoo. It might be a case where Bishoo feels a lot more comfortable bowling with an older ball. It might be a confidence thing.
Yeah, he had a left-hander in I think Stoneman at the time. That, marginally might be an issue, perhaps. Off spinner to the left-hander. He got a few wickets at Edgbaston, but you'd thought he also would like to get Bishoo into the series, wouldn't you?
You'd think so. You'd think that
anyway.
you'd want to get him Maybe we'll see him
We'll see
sooner
him.
or later before the afternoon is out. Last ball of the over from Gabriel, 1 for 25 in his 12th over. As he goes past umpire Ravi, ball short, and he's pulling this one away back with a square for 4. Picked up the line pretty early. It's a good pitch here at Headlingly. That's why he chose to bat first, despite the 4 wickets going down. He goes on to 36. How many boundaries now, Andrew, for Joe Root?
That was his fifth.
Fifth 4 in his innings of 36. Ben Stokes has just come to the crease on 4 after the demise of Dawid Malan after the lunch interval. England 84 for 4.
Well, that was a lovely shot. He had to wait a bit for it. It's a sluggish pitch, and it didn't get up that, but he watched it and then pulled it around, swiveled nicely. And he is, this summer, he's so comfortably been the best batsman on show, whoever the opposition. So the captaincy hasn't damaged him, that's for certain. Not
Magnified, no doubt, by the challenges with 3 of the top 5.
well, of course. He never. We were all sort of joking that it's amazing. Actually, in the last Test match, Root didn't get in until 2:30 in the afternoon. But of course, it was a day-night match. He usually gets in within the first hour, but that doesn't seem to worry him greatly. But all sorts of problems for England to sort out. I don't know how they're going to. If someone doesn't come up, how they're going to pick their touring team.
As Holder bowls at the start of a new over wide outside the off stump to Ben Stokes, and it's called a wide. I've seen quite a few wides already. This is the third wide of the day.
And yet it's been a really disciplined performance we're staying on the other hand.
It has. And they've really come back strong.
Yeah.
And the challenge, certainly for the West Indies, is to avoid having these extremely bad Test matches and then come back quite a bit better. And it's about being consistent. Hold the balls down the leg side, lets it go by through to the keeper. So often, you talk about the great West Indies teams that you would have come across during your time. And yes, they had remarkable cricketers and tremendous talent, dominating fast bowlers, but it was also about that consistency, which is often overlooked in talking about the dominance of the West Indies team.
Well, if you look at their bowling attacks and forget all the pace and stuff, they were mean, they gave you nothing. And if the batsmen failed, by and large, the bowlers would galvanise themselves to get the team back in the game. Didn't have that often.
Holder continues and beats Stokes, a good delivery, going past the outside edge, taken low down by Dowrich.
So they were fast, but they were also, if need be, they grind you over the Joel Garner or Colin Croft, or Malcolm Marshall even. They would do the hard yards in the middle of the afternoon and give you absolutely nothing.
It is about attrition. It is about really that discipline that is required in Test cricket. And for so many of these young cricketers for the West Indies, it has been the challenge. They'll have good patches of play, good periods of play. Hold a very wide, even wider. That's close to being called a wide again. It is second wide in the over from Jason Holder. Not conceding a lot of runs, but just at the moment, he's just spraying it about a bit too wide.
I wonder what's happening here, because he bowled so tightly to Malan in particular. The only thought I have is that it's sort of got a bit muggy, and I think he's got the odd ball to swing, and whether he's just trying to do a bit more with it.
Well, of course.
He's seen the odd one swing, so I'm going to go across him, or it might be a bit more ambitious, and control's gone briefly.
Yeah, it has. It's a long over, 2 wides in it already. And this one is a bit straighter, good delivery that just wraps him on the left thigh and straightens, heading towards the keeper. And a good bowling here. Well, if this was the West Indies, of course, you know what would be said, especially if it were not in Barbados, because Holder is Bajan. So there'd be a few more barracking and saying a few words. What's the matter, Holder? You're afraid, Stokes? You're hiding it from him? Bowling it so far towards the slips?
That's what they say in Trinidad.
Yeah, or in Trinidad, or in Jamaica, or any other part of the Caribbean.
It's tough being captain of the West Indies, isn't it?
It is merciless. As Holder bowls on a good delivery. He was going into the big shot with the big backlift and had to adjust, playing it back along the pitch. And it's something that people sometimes overlook, even in the West Indies. They'll say, well, in the great era, no one was saying anything. I saw Clive Lloyd walk out at the Queen's Park Oval and be booed from beginning to end of his innings because Derek Murray had just been dropped from the West Indies team. And you're talking about a West Indies team that was invincible. And he was booed from beginning to end. As Holder bowls a full-length delivery that's driven straight out towards mid-off. Well stopped and it remains 86
Well,
for 4.
the other one we always remember, I think Mike Selvey was covering the game, which was the first South African match. I mean, fantastic game of cricket watched by about 45 people
Exactly.
or something.
And
when
at least 20
Anderson
of those were
Cummins
officials.
had been left out. Now, Anderson Cummins was not Joel Garner or Malcolm Marshall,
Precisely.
but he wasn't picked.
And in Barbados.
And they boycotted the game.
Boycotted
Amazing.
the test match, amazing test match, and it was boycotted because of Anderson Cummins, who had yet to play, didn't have a particularly impressive record. But that's the strength of feeling for you. A good delivery to end the over from Jay Stoller, jagging back into Stokes, plays it away towards the onside. Spoiled it with a couple of wides, but it's 86 for 4 with Route 36 and Stokes on 4.
And while we're on there, the other one I remember is, your great old colleague Tony Cozier had the audacity to suggest that perhaps Phil Simmons shouldn't be in the test team, from Trinidad, of course. And my goodness me, he got some stick in Trinidad when he turned up, didn't he?
And so much stick. And the sad part about it is that Tony spent a bit of his secondary school time in Trinidad.
Yeah.
So he felt that he was almost a partial Trini. Well, I think he learned very quickly.
He can't
that
be a partial.
You can't be a partial. We've got to see Devendra Bishoo come on. And he was, in fact, so intimidated, which is what surprised me. And sadly, we all missed Tony after his passing in May of 2016. That he would have gotten quite a bit of stick over the years as a commentator, as a writer. Of course, whatever island you go to, if you say something that is even remotely critical, they're on you like white on rice, basically. And they went after him for that 1994 situation because Roland Holder, the Barbadian, was around as well. So they say, oh, it's Tony Cozier, the Bajan boy.
He's pumping for Holder.
Yeah, rooting for the Bajan. And they went after him to the extent that he refused to leave the commentary box. He didn't.
Right.
He didn't
for safety reasons, for
safety
security reasons.
He didn't leave the commentary box at all.
Amazing. I mean, trying to find there's passion there. There's passion anyway. We like passion, but pretty tough. Now this will be interesting. Bishoo, conservative field. I think that makes sense. Just against Root, who will recognise it's been pretty tricky against the seamers. So when the spinners come on, they're going to have to bowl well to keep me quiet. But he's had his moments in Test cricket, Bishoo.
Indeed he has. And the day-night Test match in Dubai, his first delivery short of a length and tucked away. Forward a square, could get 4 here. Might carry all the way to the boundary. Gabriel won't cut it off. So that's a poor start from Devendra Bishoo. A rank long hop at the start of his spell, the 36th over of the day and the Test match. And it's easily put away by the England captain.
Yeah, it was a poor ball. But very neatly, he would have known exactly where the field is, and they've actually adjusted the field.
He's on 40 now as he gets another short ball that he punches away out towards deep cover. Goes on to 41, 9 runs away from equaling a world record with half centuries for 12 consecutive Test matches. A.B. de Villiers of South Africa.
A.B. de Villiers, the only one to have done that, yeah.
And of course, A.B. de Villiers has just announced that he's retiring from one-day cricket.
He's retiring from the captaincy.
From the captaincy of the one-day team, and is thinking of playing Test cricket again. Is that correct?
So he's available to play all 3 formats, but not to captain yet.
Okay, it's going to be Bishoo now. This could be even more interesting to the left-handed Ben Stokes. Stock delivery spinning into him. There's a slip. There's a backward point. The cover being brought in. Shannon Gabriel off for the boundary. There's a short extra cover. Not sure that you'd want Shannon Gabriel as your cover. There's a mid-off, mid-on, short mid-wicket, deep square leg, and a backward square leg, short of a length delivery, and it's looking to pull it away. Is Stokes, but finds Shai Hope at short mid-wicket.
That could have been 4 easy. That was pretty short.
Started too well, Devendra Bishoo.
He's looking
Too
nervous
short.
at the moment.
He's running it again. The ball short of a length, and he's stroking it away out towards the long one. So every single delivery has been too short so far, and he's already conceded some 6 runs in the over, 92 for 4.
You can understand why Chase bowled before lunch. But if he gets it right, though, he's dangerous.
He is. As he comes in once more, and it's short of a length, and it's played away towards short extra cover. And so often for him, it's how he starts that can dictate how his spell will go, and that's one of the reasons why you found him in and out of the West Indies team, even though he's had these notable successes. Last ball of the over is again short of a length, so not a single delivery has drawn the batsman on the front foot. Root gets the single out towards deep cover to end the over. He's on 42, will retain strike. Stokes is on 5, and England winning the toss and batting first are 93 for 4 mid-afternoon on day 1 of the second test.
Yeah, well, that was a dodgy start. I mean, the art of any spinner or young spinner, knowing so, is to stay on, is to be sufficiently in control that the captain's happy for you to keep bowling, and then you can start to pick up a few wickets. But he certainly couldn't get his length right there. In one sense, he's lucky to go away with 7 from the over rather than a few more. But it can change. But you're right, confidence is such a big thing in this game, but particularly for a slow bowler, I think. Roach is coming back. He bowled just one long spell this morning. He bowled really well. He obviously prefers our commentary box end, which we used to talk about this really coming down the hill, but they slightly flattened the playing surface here. It's still, in my mind, coming down the hill at Headlingly.
Andrew.
I've just been looking at Holder bringing Bishoo on late in the innings and just comparing that to the other captains Bishoo's played for. He's played Test cricket for 3 captains, Dinesh Ramden, Darren Sammy and Jason Holder.
We'll get back to that as Roach starts his second spell. First delivery is pitched up and played away towards the mid-on to Bishoo, who we're just talking about.
Yeah, Dinesh Ramden brought him on an average in the 13th over, Darren Sammy in the 19th over, and Jason Holder in the 23rd over.
Okay, so that more or less confirms it. And it's not unusual to see Devendra Bishoo not get the ball on day 1 of a test match until mid-afternoon.
And of course, in the Caribbean, I haven't been to the Caribbean for a long time, but spin is a big component now.
It is,
especially
very
in
much
domestic.
so. Roach bowls short of a length. He's on the back foot and is not fielded by the bowler, so he'll get the single. Shannon Gabriel has to come around from mid-off to pick up. Score moves on by 1. Root is on 43, 94 for 4. In fact, Devendra Bishoo and his partner in crime for Guyana, Veerasamy Permaul, the left-arm spinner who played against England in that last test match in Barbados, they've been key men for Guyana's dominance of the regional first-class competition over the last couple of seasons.
And it's not just in Guyana, which traditionally used to be a spinner's pitch, but all round the Caribbean, by and large.
Indeed.
Yeah.
It's been also Nikita Miller in Jamaica. He's been a consistent wicket taker. Many people have asked why he's not played more than just the one test against Bangladesh in 2009. Shane Shillingford has had problems with his bowling action as a full-length delivery is smashed away by Ben Stokes. Half volley length, and he fairly laid into that on bended knee, Caribbean style, from the New Zealand-born Durham player, and he picks up an encouraging boundary for him. Really swatted that one away. Mid-off had no chance as he gets 4.
Yeah, he didn't hold back there. His left knee just about touched the ground. Looks good. It was good.
He's on 9. Route 43. England 98 for 4. As Roach back at the top of his mark, with 2 slips, 2 gullies going down, backward point, overcast conditions as he bowls full-length deliveries into the drive. Has he got him? They're appealing for it. The batsman is standing his ground. That seemed to be the movement of the ball. I don't think Shane Dowrich is convinced, so they're going to go immediately, because there was certainly exaggerated movement as he essayed the big drive to that wide delivery. They were about to celebrate, but recognise that he didn't get a touch.
No, I think he probably hit the turf as well, and it did move off the pitch, which got them excited. But it was a wide ball. Probably bat hit turf. Ball kept going wider and wider. Couldn't quite reach it. But it showed a bit of intent. Let's have another look. No, I still think he's probably all right, or is he?
It looks like the sound is the bat grazing the turf.
Yeah, I think so.
As Roach bowls outside the off stump to the left-handed. Looking at it again with the benefit of the technology, would it have been a bit of an edge as well? We're just trying to get... Certainly there was a sound of bat on the turf. And Dowrich didn't appeal. He didn't really suggest as if he was going up with the appeal. And
no, I think we're all happy that was not a nick, I think. Are you happy? You're not? You've still got a glimmer. It was too late now anyway.
It's too late anyway, but just looking at it from square on, looks as if it might have been a situation where The impact was simultaneous. Bat onto the turf, maybe into the edge, but he was given not out. Stood his ground, and there was no call for a review, which they had the option to do. And delivery outside the off stump from Roach, continuing around the wicket to the left-hander. And England remain at 98 for 4 at the end of that over.
Well, Stokes, he's not set off at a gallop, but we're seeing a bit of intent here. He's hit 2 boundaries so far.
And before you continue,
I'll tell you what, it
looks very, very close. But again, it's definitely brushing the turf as well. But Agus will continue the discussion.
Well, he's still there, and the West Indies didn't think long and hard about reviewing, and I suspect that not out would have been the solution, particularly once the standing umpire had given someone not out. The soft signal would have been not out.
Yes. And the keeper, to be fair, wasn't
that it?
jumping around.
Well, he had a lot to do to reach the thing because it was diving towards first slip, wasn't it?
98 for 4, a transformed West Indies, happy to report so far. Bishoo is continuing from the rugby stand end, and Root goes on the back foot and easily plays down to mid-off, and there's no runs. A really intense morning's cricket, actually, which I don't think, if I'm absolutely honest, many of us were expecting. But such is the game, and someone somewhere has read the riot act, and the West Indies have focused more, concentrated more, but that's short and cut hard out to point. And maybe they were a bit hurt by Curtly Ambrose's comments and so on. I know Stuart Law wasn't very happy about it, their coach, but sometimes the truth can hit home. 98 for 4. Bishoo again, a little wrist spinner, bowls outside the off stump. Again, it's cut. There's a misfield, but backed up at backward point.
I think you have to be careful of making the assumption that someone's comments from a distance is the reason why they're suddenly a better team, or have performed in a better manner.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Bishoo bowling. So Root played forward, but all Curtly was doing was reporting what he thought was wrong, and therefore if you put that into practice, there's been more aggression, but a controlled aggression.
But more discipline,
much more intent. 98 for 4, should have been 5, of course, and Root's beaten there. That one, did it turn? We shall see. He certainly pushed forward, and the keeper whipped the bails off. We've known pitches here to take spin, of course, more so recently, and that's turned enough to beat the bat. Nothing super alarming, but anyway, turn all the same. 98 for 4 in the 38th over. Bishoo bowls, and there's a sweep from Root, and he'll get runs here, down to deep square leg. The fielder, sticks a big boot on it. Slightly unorthodox, but it was effective. I'm assuming it's the Archangel out there who's had a pretty hard day so far. The 100 comes up, and he ran round there as if he's running into bowl, which is quite a strenuous business for Shannon Gabriel, and it is stuck a size 11 boot on the ball, and thankfully we have seen instances of people mistiming that and actually stand on the ball and end up being taken off on the groundsman's wheelbarrow. And in fact, having said that, he is down, and the physio's come to see him. I don't think it was a result of that incident there. The players are having a drink, and Gabriel's on the ground, and the physio is having a look. He's taken his boot off.
Well, this is a natural break, but he has rushed on. He's going to take his boot and socks off and make an inspection.
This looks more like a cramping issue, I'd say.
Yeah.
He's now whipped him over and is flat on his tummy, and the physio's kneeling behind him and pressing up his left leg. So a bit of cramp, I think, being eased there as some part of Gabriel's anatomy.
He has bowled well, actually, Gabriel.
Really
bowled
well.
with pace. He should have had Root. I mean, we're going to harp on about that quite a lot, I'm afraid. But Root's already top scorer, 45. He's got 5 more runs to get that little record. And he is the key England batsman. And
but it was a lovely
caught.
spell. It was fast, all in that channel, off stump it's outside, lovely length. He really deserved that wicket. And as a bowler, you can't help but sort of reach out to the bowler who's done it all, who's worked it all out, who really did it all. It's a bit like Morning Morkel in the South African series. It's exactly the same, setting people up and then not getting the wicket, falling the other end, all of it was. And
it's Joe Root, who is so. It was a bit like when you play against South Africa and you think, if we could get De Villiers or Amla, the top batsman, or Lara in a West Indies side of a decade or two ago. That's the wicket you want. It's the one that really gives the fielding team an uplift and has the dressing room the batting dressing room slumping, and thinking, oh my goodness, he's out. Root's hardly failed this. Well, obviously he's not failed this summer throughout an entire Test match. So he's such a pivotal wicket.
Nick Cook walking off. I'm going to mention his grey hair to him tomorrow, because you know what he said to me this morning? He's an old friend of mine, Nick Cook.
Oh, yes. Yes.
He said, I'm going to say something to you, Aggers, that you might not like very much.
All right.
And I said,
not for the first time.
I said, what's that? He said, I have to be honest with you, he was standing out in the middle as I walked out. He said, I thought it was Henry Blofeld. I said, no.
Well, you're dressed very soberly as well. What's he talking about? Well,
I was a bit disappointed with that.
That's quite wounding, isn't it?
It's very wounding.
He knows how to hurt a man, doesn't he?
Well, but from here we get a perfect view of his head, and he's gone grey, so I'm going to tell him tomorrow. But I thought it was really harsh. Anyway, great to see him. He's got a wonderful sense of humour, isn't Nick? And colleague of mine at Leicestershire, of course, and then went on down the road to Northamptonshire. And it's 100 for 4. Gabriel's pulling his boots back on again. And we've got Root on 45. Stokes on 9. It's a really good battle. That's what you want to see. First day of a Test match. Bowlers often have a little bit of a chance. It's not done very much. But one or two disappointing dismissals in that England batting lineup again. And of those, mainly, who couldn't really afford disappointing dismissals too. But certainly the talking point around about here and in the press box below. 100 for 4, and Kemar Roach is on again from our end. He's bowling round the wicket and bowls to Stokes, who waits for that and guides the ball down to gully. There's 4 men lined up there, all their maroon West Indies caps on. And there's no run. 100 for 4. Jeffrey's alongside me. Have you found a little spot on your kitchen for that nice plate, Jeffrey?
I've talked about it with our Rachel. She wants to see it and photograph it.
Yep. Pride of place.
I have to ring the gentleman, though, who sent it, because his letter was to auction it for the air ambulance. So I have to say, Jonathan says, giving it for me from my kitchen. So I have to speak to him and see what he says, what he wants to do.
I see.
I'm down, to be fair.
Yeah,
I have to take the letter, ring him. I'll put it on with my other plates. I've got one of W.G. Grace's 100 runs, one of Jack Hobbs's.
Have you? Here's Roach round the wicket, bowls very full. It is a full toss, actually, driven hard to mid-off. And no run, 100 for 4.
Got one of Len Hutton, one of Wally Hammond.
Getting the 100 hundreds.
Because I was the 18th, but there's only 25 now. Only 2 of us got it in a Test match. I was the first. Zahir against India. Zahir Abbas wouldn't play. So I have to ask him. He was generous enough to send it for you to tease me, but I have to ask him.
It's a very kind presentation. 100 for 4. Roach bowls on off stump. It's edged. Oh, and they've dropped another one.
Oh dear.
Root has dropped, and now Stokes has dropped. That went quite quickly, and about shoulder high, I'm guessing here, to the man at third slip, who's looking aghast with his hands on his head. It all happens very fast, but it just moved away. It bounced as well. It's actually second slip who put that down, and it went. It's about neck high. Went quickly, but I'm sorry, you've got to catch those.
They talk the bowler. Yes, you have, really. I mean, and it's come about because of the better bowling all throughout the day, the better discipline, the better line and length.
Yep.
And there's just a little bit in heading. It always is, it's good pitch, but just a little bit there.
Shai Hope, the guilty man, as Stokes drives out through extra cover for 4. And how often does that happen? So frustrating for the bowler. He turns and walks back to his mark disconsolately, cursing under his breath, I'm sure. And Hope at second slip with his hands on his hips now will dig a big hole to drop Root and Stokes. Stokes was on, maybe it was Stokes who dropped 9.
He's about to get the record, is Joe Root, isn't he? 50s consecutively.
Yep.
Another 5 runs.
Well, he should have been dismissed earlier for 8. He goes Roach again and squares Stokes up. It's lovely bowling this from round the wicket. He's just finding enough bounce and a bit of nip off the seam to make life difficult for Stokes.
Just enough there that the England seamers will be looking and thinking, nice pitch.
Yeah.
Just nice pitch to bat. You've got to bat well, but there's just a little bit there for the bowlers, particularly when the ball's particularly new. Anderson's not got a lot of wickets here. Ball short of a length, back of a length. You need to bowl full at Headingley.
Roach runs in, bowls to Stokes, swinging into him this time, and he very deliberately plays that back up the pitch with a bit of a punch, and Roach fields. So again, an unlucky over there from a West Indian perspective, but the chance is coming. He's got to take them. 108 for 4, 39 overs gone. Route 45.
Oh, they need to
Stokes
take
17.
12 wickets now, don't they?
Yep.
Drop 2, and it gets harder when you have to take 13, 14. Every club side will tell you it gets harder. You catch all your catches, it's a lot easier. You only have to take 10.
Holder towering over Bishoo, the spinner. He's an enormous man, Holder. You feel he should bowl about 140 miles an hour. He's just immense. Bowls about, well, mid-80s, I guess. But Bishoo bowling with the wrist spin. He's got a slip, then 4 in a ring in the offside. A man out on the point boundary as well as Bishoo. The little jump bowls, and Root penetrates the gap and finds the man coming in off that extra cover boundary. 109 for 4, going to get rowdy behind him now on the West Stand. Very few seats actually available in there, so
I think
that's pretty much
the
packed.
staff told me 14,000, about 1,500 down or something.
Yeah.
Full tomorrow though.
Good.
I think it's nearly 16 and a half, isn't it, when it's full?
Bishoo bowls, and now it's Stokes' turn to flick the ball out towards the West Stand. And comes the fielder again, and they take 1 run. 110 for 4. It'll be noisy over there tomorrow then.
Yeah, this is what they need to do with Bishoo. I don't think Bishoo can keep it tight. He's going to give you some easy balls to score. They don't want to get carried away and think, oh, after I've been under pressure with the seamers, they get themselves out, we're looking to score off him. I think he'll give you scoring balls and just take them.
Here he is again, bowling too short. Root chops him away, looking to get the ball down to third man. But
he's almost looking to hit every ball, isn't it, Joe Root, when the spinner's on. And I think it's always a little dangerous. You're liable to get yourself out after being tied down.
Bishoo again. Almost at edge this time as Root again. You're right, he's trying to dominate him, isn't he?
Yeah, and he doesn't need to. They'll get easy balls. You should say, it's hard against the seamers. They bowl well. And a little bit in the pitch. So let's just take what I'm getting.
There's Bishoo, and Root again preferring that back foot. Steers the ball to point. 110 for 4. I could see a boycott 4 defensive lunging at that rather than on the back foot, but that's the way that Root likes to play it. 46 not out. Here's Bishoo, and he bowls to him. He swings up hard, and there it is. Joe Root's 50. We talked about the thrill of being here to lead England out for the first time in a test match. And he's got something to remember here. He's waving his bat to the crowd. It's his 31st 50. But he's getting a standing ovation now because that's his 12th successive test matches that he's scored 50, and he equals A.B. de Villiers.
His sense he's not going to let the leg spinner bowl, is he? And it's always then a little worrying that you're looking to get after him when England are in such an awkward position. It's not great.
It's quite an achievement, that, isn't it? I mean, 12 successive tests to score 50. That's it's obvious to say it's consistency, but nice for him to do it here. And what I like about Joe Root, and I'm interviewing him a lot these days being captain, he's still kept his sense of humour. 114 for 4, and he squares Stokes up here. Yesterday I interviewed him below us, and he'd done a lot of the press and he'd done all the electronic media, and luckily enough BBC Radio we get a chance to interview him one-on-one, so we lined him up down here. And he doesn't know what I'm going to ask him first, but he's been asked all the same questions. So straight into it. Right, Joe, you must be really thrilled about leading England out for the first time at Headingley. And his mind wasn't there. He was a bit somewhere else. And he sort of stumbled a bit. And I said, tell you what, let's do that again. Joe, you must be really thrilled to be leading England out for the first time. He said, yes, so thrilled, I'm speechless. He said, then goes Roach and bowls on the off stump. And Stokes plays out to cover. And I thought, fair play. You know, it's nice, isn't it, when you have a bit of...
I don't think he'll lose his sense of humour or what he is. All the time he's been at Yorkshire. He was 13 when he first came. I first saw him. I mean, people saw him. Just Joe. I don't think he's going to change much.
No, I don't think he will. I mean, yeah, he did look a bit shell-shocked after Trent Bridge, if I'm honest. But then that was his first taste of that. And I guess, like you learn from all sorts of things. He'll now have been there at least. Here's Roach, and Stokes plays a majestic looking shot here off the back foot, out through extra cover. I'm not sure he absolutely timed it. It was a glorious looking shot. I think it came off the bottom of the bat, but he's still got 4, and he's stood up there and hammered that off the back foot with a lovely flourish.
Just short, wanted it quite short.
He stood up. That's a great follow through. He barely moved really. All the weight was right.
You have to get this heavy gang out. I mean, there's Bairstow to come and Ali, now there's Woakes can play. You've got to get them out, because you can make them struggle a bit, but they're not going to struggle quite like batsmen. You bowl a bad ball, they're going to clunk something.
Here's Roach bowling, and now he's on the front foot. Now, he won't get 4 for this, but he's driven past Holder, who's pursuing the ball down to the deep mid-off boundary, and they'll get 2. So off the back foot through extra, off the front foot 2, and Stokes starting to show his full array of shots now. He's 24 not out, having given that life on 9, and England are 120 for 4.
Joe Root's 50, 139 minutes, 87 balls and 8 fours. 12 test matches in a row. De Villiers set the record back from November 2012 to February 2014. Root's sequence started in the second test in Bangladesh, in Dhaka, in October last year. Then obviously all 5 tests in the series against India.
You see, that's why it makes it so good too, doesn't it? Because they were tough. Tough for English batsmen to bat in those conditions. That's a really hard-earned record.
5 tests in India, then 4 against South Africa, and now 2 against the West Indies.
One is spin, one is seam.
In goes Roach, round the wicket, bowls. Stokes plays a bit across the line here, getting a bit ahead of himself, looking to work that from outside the off stump through the leg side.
That one very good, was it?
It would look good if it came off the middle of the bat.
They don't like being tied down. They're not used to being tied down, these middle order players. The modern game, with so much one day and 2020, they play lots of shots, and I think you have to stay awake in the slip zone anywhere, because they're allowed to get themselves out, but also if you bowl it offline, they're going to wallop it.
I think Stokes is ticking here. Just get the feeling. 120 for 4. In goes Roach, bowls to him. It's edged again for 4. They'd just taken 3rd slip out, and that would have gone absolutely between his legs, as it were, to catch. It was just perfect height, and Stokes picks up another boundary. Just feel that he's after it at the moment. I think the adrenaline's flowing.
Well, that's what happens, Jonathan, because he's hitting a couple of runs, he's played a couple of shots, he's threatening. Then they take a slip out to protect areas for the bowler. You can't have it both ways. My view is, I would go for the catch. I want them out on this sort of surface. I can't afford for them to stay in, because they're going to pulverise you. You've got to get them out. And the bowlers today, not like Edgbaston, they bowl well enough for chances to come, which they have. 2 have been dropped. And you feel all the time the way they bowl in this test, as opposed to Edgbaston, they're creating a chance. They're going to create another one, because they bowl well enough to. Edgbaston, you thought at times they might as well have 15 fielders. It ain't going to make much difference, because they're not going to create anything. They're just all over the place. Here, it's proper bowling, disciplined bowling, and I would have gone, I want to get him out. I have to risk a few 4s, but I'm going to get him out.
124 for 4. We've got Bishoo continuing and bowling, and Root lets that go by outside the off stump.
50 partnership came up with that boundary off the last ball of the last over. 77 balls.
If you were bowling on here, there's just enough in it to encourage it. You would want to slip it. You'd fancy, I can get somebody out, wouldn't you? If you bowl well.
Bishoo bowling a bit short, and Root can go back and force out to cover. Yes, I mean, it
didn't happen too often, mind you.
Yeah, it's just infuriating. Thank you, Jeffrey. As a bowler, because he'd have been in that discussion too. Holder would have said, "Look, should we take him? He's going to come out. Let's put him there." So the bowler would have been in on that decision, I'm sure.
But you always say a lot of bowlers don't always know what's best for them. They don't like runs off them.
No.
Whereas the captain, sometimes you've got to get wickets.
So long on, deep square leg as Bishoo bowls, and Stokes can just plant that really along the ground and down to long on. So he knew exactly what he's doing there, just picking up the single. 126 for 4, he's on 29 not out. And
see, why would you put long on? He hasn't hit him once over the top, has he?
No.
Why would you give him an easy single? Hang on, West Indies have been on top today. Totally different from Edgbaston. You can't go on what happened at the last match. You've got to think positive about this one.
Bishoo bowling a little wrong in there by the look of it, and Root swept him tucked him around the corner, really. Down to fine leg. They'll get certainly 2. Stokes is looking for the 3rd, but it'll just be 2 runs, 128 for 4. And you can hear from the crowd, and cricketers like Stokes, I was just thinking then, the noise that you hear, the excitement, it's people like him, it's Andrew Flintoff, it's Ian Botham, those sort of batsmen who come to the cricket, and the noise level has risen. Everyone's really enjoying this. What's he going to do next? Where's he going to hit it? What chance might he give? His Bishoo again bowls and Root is forward, playing out to cover this time. They've got something, it's magnetism, these all-rounders who come out and play with this sort of freedom.
Well, because they've got another string to the bow, so it helps.
128 for 4. Last ball of the over. Bishoo bowls it, and Roop again sweeps him, and he might get 4 this time. Let's see. Old Gabriel's not moving very quickly down there, I must say now. I think he might have rather blown his stack, as it were, because he'd
run out to puff, Jonathan.
Well, he does. That's the one thing about Gabriel. He's bowled 12 overs. And I just wondered, he didn't exactly go chasing round there. But anyway, that's the end of the over. 132 for 4. Root has 57. Stokes 29. Some exciting cricket being played here. And after thoughts from Jeffrey, Dan Norcross is coming in here.
And it's interesting cricket. I just say one thing to everybody. Of the history of Headlingly Test matches, spinners very rarely have made a big impact to win matches. It's batsmen and seam bowling. And seam bowlers who pitch it up more than anything. At Headingley, you've always needed to kiss the top, as we call it. Bowl that slightly fuller length. Not be afraid to speculate, to get it up. Look for people on the front foot to drive. You come and keep banging it in. It works some days, but it's not as effective. And I think that's why Jimmy, great bowler he is, and has been, he bowls back of the length. He doesn't like to give the drive. He moves it all over. But it's the people who get it up there a bit. And spinners, I don't know if Andrew can look, but spinners haven't too often, have they, Andrew? They haven't too often won things at Headingley.
Well, just looking here, in the last 32 years, there's only been 1 5 by a spinner in at Leeds.
Wow.
Graham Swan against New Zealand in 2013.
3 slips and a gully in. Whether they can catch it if it comes to them is another matter, as Roach bowls to Stokes, who defends off the front foot, back up the wicket. There's no run. Both of these batsmen have been dropped. England 132 for 4. What might have been? Roach was dropped on what, Andrew? 8.
And it's not because many spinners haven't bowled at Headingley. There's some great English bowlers that bowl, never mind abroad. They just don't bowl people out.
So who's your bowler then, Paddy? I mean, Roach to me would fit your sort of your paradigm bowler for Headingley. He kisses the pitch, doesn't he? Looks to get it up there.
He's lost a bit of pace, and now he's bowled today beautifully.
He's into Stokes, around the wicket. He drives mercilessly through extra cover. It was full, it was wide, and that's a magnificent shot from Stokes. Every single one of these boundaries is a dagger in the heart of Windies cricket, because they've dropped him. They've dropped Stokes when he was on 9. He's now got 33.
Well, Lord Holt, your great man of Yorkshire cricket, 29 years captain, 40 years as president, when he took over, said he had 10 drunks and a parson. He said there were an appalling fielding side, and he had to rectify that because it was easier to win if we only had to take 20 wickets. And my lord was very smart, and that theory has never changed in club cricket, school cricket, test cricket, has he?
No, it has
catches.
Not. No, it has not. Now, just remind me, was Lord Hawke the one erroneous Yorkshireman? He was born in
Lincolnshire.
Lincolnshire, that was it. Lincolnshire. Yeah.
He wanted everybody to be born in Yorkshire. That was the rule. But he was born in Lincolnshire. You can do anything when you're a lord, can't you?
Yeah, well,
lord.
Indeed. Roach is in, a little shorter this time, not surprisingly, after being hammered for 4 previous ball, pushed into the offside.
Oh, they got rid of people, you know. Some people sneaked in without a birth certificate and played a match or 2, and then they found out they weren't born in Yorkshire. They got rid of him. But my lord stayed on.
Yeah, I bet.
He was king.
Well, did you? I don't know if you heard, but Tanny Gray-Thompson yesterday was on commentary with us for your victorious match. She said that as she was going into labour, her father, she wasn't in Yorkshire at the time, her father came and smeared Yorkshire soil on her back in the hope that would count.
No, it wouldn't.
Roach is in, and that's on the pads of Stokes, and it's hit him a painful blow actually on the knee. A shy at the stumps from Dowrich hits, but Root was home at the striker's end, and Stokes is in some pain. I think has that got him on the inside of the knee, and was that a leg bye as well? There was a leg
Michael
bye.
Parkinson's son.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came back from somewhere. You'd have to ask Michael, and came to find Mary, who was ready to deliver it. Couldn't find it. And his father had come and got him. When he rang his dad, he said, "It's all right, lad, I've got her. She's back in Sheffield. Going to have it in Sheffield. You've got to play for Yorkshire."
Are there a whole series of hospitals on the border of Yorkshire just ready to take
Michael tells
newborn children?
It's true. And
I can believe it.
Michael was so famous to interview in television, the best of the lot, brilliant. And his dad said to him one day, he said, "But they haven't got a Yorkshire cap." And this is a guy who's brilliant.
Roach is into Root, who pays off the back foot, square cover.
It was more important to his dad to get a Yorkshire cap than it was to be the best talk show host on BBC television, wasn't it?
I think
absolutely brilliant he was.
He's got a point though, hasn't he?
His dad?
Yeah.
He was great, his dad. Michael got a number of his stories from his dad when he used to write in the Telegraph, was it? He used to write these funny stories, didn't he? He got all the stories, and then he was clever enough to embellish them with humour. He's brilliant, his dad. I met him before he died many times.
Roach in, 2 slips, 2 gullies to Root, who lets that ball go by outside the off stump, through to Dowrich, who takes it around about knee height, end of the over. England 137 for 4 after 43 overs, and the runs have come at some pace since the dropped catch. When Stokes was dropped, what was England's score, Andrew?
It was 100 for 4.
So they've hit 37 runs in what feels like about 25, 30 minutes.
I can tell you, this is what happens at Headingley. So many years I've played here, 25 years, and you'll get pitches that were lovely, good, there's a little bit in it for the bowlers, and you had to work so hard. You worked to lunch before you're not out at lunch. And after the initial first few overs, after lunch, settles down, it's all for the batsman, and then runs come in a fairly quick spurt. Only because you've worked hard against the new ball, they'll come. As soon as spinners come on, spinners don't bother you at Headingley.
Well, Bishoo's in, Stokes has got 1 slip in, and he just works that as easy as you like up to long on. Jeffrey was saying last over, he couldn't understand the point of the long on. I can't say that I disagree with him. It's an easy single for Stokes.
He hasn't hit one over the top
yet.
No. Let him hit one, see if he misses it or something. But why give him a single?
138 for 4, Stokes to 34, sorry.
Yeah, 37 of the last 5 overs.
Of the last 5, so they're going 7.5, and that's even more damaging to your morale. It's bad enough to drop the catch, but then if runs start coming thick and fast, we've got a strange field for Bishoo. If there's no single off this, I'll describe it for you. As Root defends into the offside, so we've got a slip, a backward point, a short point, not a silly point. He's 1, 2, 3, 4 pitches back, and he's not walking in, so he's in a semi-catching position. A short extra cover. Next ball defended on the front foot, no run. A slightly deeper mid-off that you probably could take a single to.
Yep.
A mid-on that's now loping further away and further away. There's a acre of space on the onside. There's a deep mid-wicket, a deep backward square, and there's a sweeper on the offside. As Bishoo bowls to Root, who works it, goes back into his crease, and he works into the onside. He'll probably get 2 here. He will get 2 because there's so much space on that leg side. And Root's a good enough player to get back into his crease, judge the length, work it into that gap. Yeah. 140 for 4. Root moves to 59, a bit too easy.
Thing about Headingley, the pace is never been quick. So when spinners bowl, you have a lot of time.
So you can just get to the back foot
and
and
work it, and it's nice.
Bishoo's into Root again, and he's got the edge. He has got the edge. It's gone through to the slip. He was looking to sweep that into the onside, and well, there you go. That was the trap that was laid, wasn't it? He was looking to just get that little single into the onside because there was nobody there saving one. He's got a thick outside edge, and it's looped really to first slip. Bishoo's got his man, and well, I didn't see that coming. England 140 for 5. Root goes for 59.
Well, I was here before lunch when he came on, and I was saying, against a spinner, you can only get yourself out here. You're looking to score. That was pitched way outside off stump, turning away, and he's looking to paddle sweep it. He could have let it go or just eased it through the covers for 1 or 2, but if you get cute, you get yourself out.
Do you give any credit, Jeffrey, to the Windies for leaving that massive gap?
All credit to him, but in a way, you have to say the ball wasn't special, it was just nicely bowled, and he's got himself out. As opposed to a couple of deliveries this morning, I mean, the catch that was dropped to slip off Stoke, that was a beautiful delivery. It bounced a bit, held its line. That was bowling. This was just a little lob leg spinner, 6-8 inches outside off stump, and paddle sweeping it from there. It wasn't even leg stump, was it? It's like
against the turn, everything about it was wrong.
Giving it away.
Well, he has given it away, and West Indies have got their 5th wicket eventually, so the drop of Root's cost only 50 runs, which I suppose is a positive, given what Root can do. 140 for 5. The cheer you heard was for Bairstow's coming out to bat. Blackwood was the man who took the catch at slip.
Just give it away. I can't say anything else today. I played nicely, but I said before, the spinner really, if you first come in like now and you've just got to pick up, is it leg spinner, top spinner, googly, yeah, you can just be tough. But once he's in like that, he just had to pick him off. But as I was saying before lunch, that they play so much 20, 50 overs, they play lots of shots, score quickly. If you tie people down, they're liable to get themselves out in the modern game because they're used to playing a lot of shots.
Well, he'll be infuriated with himself. It's another time that Root hasn't gone on to get 100. He's got a lot of those scores between 50 and 99. And Bishoo, though, has got Jonny Bairstow in his sights with a short mid-wickets come in. So the deep mid-wickets come in off the boundary. The offside field has stayed the same as it was for Root. Back into his crease he goes. So a fullish ball lets it go through to Dowrich. End of the over. England 140 for 5. The big wicket of Root in that over. Andrew.
Root's 59 of 98 balls, 9 fours, batting for 156 minutes.
Well, he's equalled the record for the most number of consecutive 50s, but he'll be furious, won't he, with himself for that. Graham trying to play the paddle sweep.
Yeah, he won't be happy.
Space.
Good timing from Jeffrey as well, isn't it? Spinner never caused problems at Headlingly.
I didn't like to say.
Not very ball. Jeffrey's right, though. Very few spinners have ever taken wickets here.
Do you get many here?
Can't remember off the top of my head.
Can you not? No.
We'll have to get Andrew to look it up.
How many times?
I'll just do some stretching while he does it.
Ever been out first ball here?
Headlingly?
Yeah.
Probably. Most grounds I have.
Roach in, bowls a full ball outside the off stump through to the keeper. And there's no one. I want to ask you, because a lot of talk today has been about the makeup of England's side and looking at the likes of Stoneman, Westley, Malan.
Yes.
Worrying about whom England might take to Australia. Well, the Yorkshire statistician Paul Dyson I've just been talking to, and he said something that no one has mentioned, which is, and maybe no one's mentioned it because it's not a good idea, but he's suggested, what about if you bring Woakes in as keeper and put Bairstow in at 5 as a batsman? As Roach is in with 3 slips and a gully outside the off stump, and it dies on the diving Dowrich. And there's no run.
It's definitely been mentioned. Someone spoke to me about that the other day.
Do they?
I don't know how good a player Woakes is. I think if you're going to do that, get him in quickly. I would be 100% behind Jonny Bairstow batting in the top 5. I think he's...
Whether he's keeping or not.
Whether he's keeping or not, I think he can still bat 5 and keep. He's a fantastic cricketer at the minute. He's one of my bankers every time he goes out. We've got him and 15 out Joe ahead of him. Always does well for his average. So
Roach into Stokes, who carves off the back foot, out through backward play. It'll run away to the boundary for 4. A diving attempt was in vain at that point. There was a flamboyant shot from Stokes. He looks like he's going to continue to play his shots. He's got Jonny Bairstow for company, but England, they're teetering a bit here. They lose 1-2 more wickets.
Oh, they're absolutely
in big trouble.
140 for 5 is not ideal anywhere. I'll tell you what, it's very bizarre though. The England side is very topsy-turvy at the minute. And I heard you at lunch. You made a very good point. The other journalists had no idea what you were talking about because they just don't know their cricket like you, Dan Norcross.
Oh, thank you, Graham. What did I
in
say?
Australia, during the last Ashes, when we got beat 5-0, effectively, the Aussies were 5 down cheaply all the time, every game.
Roach in again to Stokes. Let's go through to the keeper. There's
and
no
what
run.
They had there was Brad Haddin, was the main protagonist, scoring heavily at number 7, coming in at counter-attack and scoring really heavily. Teams that do that you get through the top order and then they are stronger, are so difficult to beat. And that's what England are at the minute. When you look at their strength is certainly Joe Root at 4.
6, 7, 8, 9.
6, 7, 8, 9. If there's a better 6, 7, 8, 9 in the history of Test cricket, I want to know who it is. Oh, don't Please don't flood me with 1,000 teams better.
Full outside the off stump, no run, because it was Wilf Rhodes once batted at 11. Someone will remind you of that.
But in the history of English Test cricket, there's been very few teams anywhere. Right. And I've said this before, when you used to think that Andy Caddick used to roll in at 8.
Yeah. Well, with Woakes at 9, that's amazing, isn't it? I mean, because you can imagine Woakes actually being a number 6. And
Woakes I think Woakes has got nearly 10 first-class hundreds, hasn't he?
I'm guessing. I couldn't say off the top of my head, but feels
9. He's got 9, yeah.
9,
so
yeah. Well, exactly. So, and I think, especially in Australia where that ball gets much easier to hit, doesn't it, after 35, 40 odd overs. Next ball is driven beautifully by Stokes. There's a man out on the boundary. He's going to have to run around to his right to field. It is a very controlled square drive.
Yeah.
Stokes takes him to 40, takes England to 146 for 5.
He's a wonderful player. He actually had, by his accounts, a very quiet Test match at Edgbaston. He didn't really do anything, did he?
No. Did he get one wicket in the end? But
he did. He took a good catch to win the game, but he dropped one, didn't he? Under the lights with a pink ball, which is actually, I think, says a lot, because when you watch the way he dropped it as well, it wasn't like it just went in and out of his hands that sometimes catches do. It hit it. He went there and he just didn't time it right, and the ball clattered into him, sort of hit his wrists.
Well, he made a movement with his hands, didn't he, which you don't normally see. The sort of movement that was like, ooh, crikey, the ball's nearly here.
That's pink ball under lights, so that's something to look out for going forward to the Ashes. But it's just really bizarre when you think that they've got all these gaps to fill in the order. I don't think it's a bad thing if Folkes is the man, but I've got a feeling that Westley's he's got himself into an issue now that he used to have an issue outside off stump by all accounts, nicking the ball, and now he's got an issue with straight half volleys.
So has he taken the off stump guard to try to get away from the problem outside off stump and now create
straight half volleys? I think he's thinking about it too much. Only batsmen who think too much miss straight balls. He just go out there, close his eyes and whack it, basically.
That's what I said to Laura Wright yesterday. Gabriel in, 3 slips, gully, worked into the onside. They pick up a single. 147 for 5. Bairstow off the mark with that single. 46th over. Yes, Andrew, your poise. That's good. Good time to come to you, I think.
10 wickets at 19.6 you got in Test matches here at Headlingly.
I did.
You did, yes.
Oh, did you?
But you are the only spinner in the last 32 years to get a 5 for Test matches at this ground.
So I took 10 wickets in my career here at Headley. All of them were in one game. I've got to admit that.
Right.
I was kind of setting myself up.
How many games have you played in?
Off the top of my head, I can remember playing 2 or 3.
Right. Andrew will get all the stats for us.
I was in a buccaneering partnership with Stuart Broad here in an Ashes Test match 2009 when we lost the game, but we put on the second fastest century partnership in the history of Test cricket.
Gabriel is into the left-handed Stokes. It's underneath the pad. It's hit him in the same place again, I think. As a couple of overs ago, he was hit on that part of the leg, and he's gone down. Stokes doesn't normally go down. He's grimacing, but he's trying to show. Well, I say he's trying to show no pain. I'm afraid he showed the pain.
For those who play cricket, they're a little bit underneath the thigh pad. Normally, there's a bit of your thigh pad that curls down your leg to wrap around the top of your pad. But when you bend the leg, obviously it's exposed. It's going right under there. Yes, in this partnership of 100, and how we got there was basically by egging each other on, because we were losing the game. We thought there's nothing to lose, so he hit 19 off and over, and said, "I bet you 100 quid you can't beat that." And I hit 20 off and over, so I bet you 200 you can't beat that. And he hit 21. It was we were in an Ashes Test match. It was great fun.
Yes, I remember that game. It was calamitous for England, wasn't it? And it lost appallingly badly. Next ball's worked into the onside by Stokes, back to the square for no run. Because you've been.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal.
You were dropped once, weren't you?
I got dropped here against South Africa, when Kevin Peterson then got 3 or 4 for spit. And they said it wouldn't turn. The ball does turn here now at Headley. That's the problem.
Maybe
people
Peterson's
still think
a more sort of there's a taller spinner. That's what they were looking for.
No, there's no point trying to wind me up, Dan. Kevin Peterson's spin was filthy. No, they still think of Headley as the old school. Like Jeffrey still thinks of it old school. Spin doesn't cause problems here. It spins here now, trust me. It's a better place to bat. It's a worse place to bowl seam than it used to be, but it spins.
Yeah.
That's how it is. It's evolved. So don't listen to anyone saying spinners shouldn't take wickets here. I'm expecting Moeen Ali to take wickets here.
Well, the makers of the programme for that game knew that it took spin because you were on the front of it. As Shannon Gabriel bowls is driven gloriously, not so glorious. It is a bit of an optical illusion here. I thought it timed that nicely, but instead it Actually just gone to mid-on.
Dribbled to mid-on,
Dribbled, didn't it? So you were on the cover of the programme?
The cover of the programme, then got dropped, yeah. I went on holiday to North Wales instead.
Is that a holiday?
Oh, you be careful. You be careful, Daniel. Wash your mouth out. North Wales, the most beautiful part of this country, I think.
I was made to go there every summer in my childhood. I'm familiar with North Wales.
Llandudno?
Well, actually, Towyn. It's probably not quite north, but it's northwest. North-ish. Towyn. Look you. They had you got Towyn tummy there. Had problems with water in the 70s. Gabriel bowls and is cut off the back foot gloriously through the offside by Stokes for 4 more. That was a lovely shot. He moves with that to 44. England's 150 comes up, 151 for 5. So where did you go in North Wales?
Conwy.
Oh,
I'd like to distance myself from your remarks about North Wales there, for anyone listening from the Welsh Tourist Board. Glorious place, great golf courses, you see.
In the north as well,
in the northeast, yeah. In the northwest, sorry.
A number of great
Conwy,
taken
Abu
from us by
Dhabi,
golf.
Nevin.
Yep.
Royal St David's, one of the best links courses in the land.
Do you slip accidentally into a slight Welsh accent?
You all right?
Yes, you do. I can tell, see. Shannon Gabriel is in with 2 slips and a gully. Bowls to Stokes. Oh, gets wrapped on the pads. Big-ish appeal, but it's stifled in the end. Not much support from behind the stumps. End of the over. England 151 for 5. Stokes has 44. Gabriel's still slightly quizzical, but there's no dice, I'm afraid. Bairstow has 1. 46 overs have gone. And with more thoughts, it's going to be Graham Swan, followed by the Gary Sobers of Test Match Special. It's Simon Mann.
To say I've been looking forward to getting Simon Mann on air today is a massive understatement. After last night's shambolic performance from him. We'll talk more about that later. He's had some smoke blown up his bottom by everyone else who think he did marvellously well. But I don't concur with them. Hello, Simon.
Good afternoon.
What have you got to say for yourself?
Well, it's lovely to see you.
Robbing the crowd of a grandstand finish, like in any benefit game, in any sort of match. Robbing them. And I'm going to explain to everyone what you did. Because you looked me in the eye and you lied to me, Simon. So with 5 to win.
That's a very strong allegation.
With 5 to win off 2 overs.
Well, we're not going to have much chance here. Bishoo is going to be bowling.
You can hide all you want, I'm getting you.
From the Kirkstall Lane end. He's changed ends. He was bowling from the football stand end earlier. It's 151 for 5. It's been a contest today, and West Indies have just undermined their performance by dropping 2 crucial catches. Bairstow 1, Stokes 44. It's Bairstow on strike. And Bishoo to bowl. He's got a man on the deep square leg boundary and a man on the deep cover boundary. There's a slip in as well. And Bishoo moves in. It's driven firmly by Bairstow up towards mid-on. And there is no run.
We'll have to wait for the seamers over, won't we?
Yes, I think Roston Chase is going to bowl from the far end the next over until 2. These two getting together after route. Remarkable dismissal, caught at slip off a toe-ender. Bishoo bowls. Bishoo was the bowler then, taking the wicket. Bairstow leans forward, plays that square with the wicket on the offside, and there is no run. Got a backward point, short point, extra cover, mid-off, mid-wicket, mid-on, and then those 2 men out. Bishoo bowls to Bairstow, drives, lovely looking shot, but straight to extra cover, and there is no run.
Roach's 2 spells today. He took 2 for 21 in his 9 overs in his first spell, and he's just finished now second spell, 5 overs for 33.
Oof. Here goes Bishoo, bowls to Bairstow, who's right forward, head over it, squeezing the ball away on the offside. Goes to extra cover again, and there's no run. Livening up in the West Stand, the volume levels going up throughout the day. They've had some interesting cricket to watch today. West Indies much better.
They're good, haven't they? I'm very impressed with them.
Bishoo in to bowl to Bairstow. Gets a leg break, which he cracks through the offside towards the cover boundary. Shannon Gabriel is there, rather dismissively lobs the ball in to Bishoo. One more, Bairstow to 2, 152 for 5. England are in a similar position to this. Well, the game was taking a similar course last year against Sri Lanka. And Bairstow came out and made 140. England, I don't think, made 300 in that game, but still won by an innings. Jimmy had figures of 10 for 45 after, I think,
never taken a wicket.
Well, exactly.
Before.
Headlingly
horrific.
Headlingly had just not been his ground, but
suddenly realised if you pitched it up a bit more, Jimmy.
Now the left-handed Stokes on strike, gets one outside the off stump, spinning back into him, and I think he was looking to cut that, and then it turned, then he had to drop the bat on it and play it into the onside, and there's no run. 152 for 5 at the end of the over.
Right.
Is Roston Chase coming
No, he's
up?
not.
No, he's not. He's not.
So I'm going to...
No, hold on, Andrew needs to say something first.
You better be quick.
I'll be quick, yeah. Last year's Test, England made 298, Sri Lanka 91 and 119.
Yeah, well, I think it was over in 3
Good memory.
days.
Right.
Right, the case of the prosecution
Case
then.
the prosecution says, with 2 overs to go last night, the batting team needing 5 to win in a, an entertainment game. It's for the crowd, for the public. Phil Tufnell has 1 over to bowl. So I said to you, did I not? Simon, I'm going to bring all the fielders in. I'll just bowl you 6 straight balls, pat them back. Then you need 5 to win off last over for Phil Tufnell. Grandstand finish. Everyone goes home happy. You nodded and said, OK, Swanee. What did you do the first ball I bowled?
No, but
what did you do with the first ball I bowled?
I tried to whack you over your head for 6.
You're a disgusting human being. And then Terra said, you can't pull the wool over my eyes, Graham. You lied to me, Simon. That hurts more than anything else that's ever happened.
I don't think we shook on it, did we?
No, we didn't, but, a man's word is a man's word, especially with the Slazenger in his hand, or a cricket bat in his hand. There are other brands available.
Here is Gabriel bowling, and Bairstow tries to force that away. It's a bit too close to playing an attacking shot there. He's hard into the pitch, and it bounced away into the offside, and there's no run. Well, you
sold me down the river.
You can watch for
Simon.
yourself.
You sold me down the river.
Well, I'm sorry you think that, Graham.
And the thing is, you really got hold of it as well. It's the best shot you played, and you got 1 run for it.
The best shot
just cleared mid-on.
The best shot I played, Graham, was the short ball from you that I whacked for 4.
Well, my leg spinner, because you'd been so pitiful up until then, I felt sorry for you. Yeah, I've lost a lot of respect for you last night, Simon, man.
That's the reason. You think I lied to you?
You did lie to me, Simon.
Here is Gabriel bowling. Oh, that's edged down to second slip. Is it caught? There's an appeal. And Bairstow's just waiting. West Indies think they have their man. It was a low catch to second slip. Bairstow is waiting, and the 2 umpires are conferring. And Bairstow is heading to have a chat with his non-striking partner, Ben Stokes. So this is one of those that's probably going to go upstairs. And then it
all depends on what the soft dismissal is.
It does, yeah.
I think they'll say out, because it looked out to me, I must admit.
It went very low, quickly, low to slip. Right, there we go, upstairs we go.
Upstairs and out, yeah, so they think it's out. They've given the soft dismissal.
Can I check the carry of the ball? Can we start with the front foot, please?
Sounds like Andrew Sansom on third umpire.
It is our friend Murray who's on third in this game. Right, here we go. It's not a no ball. Well behind the line.
Thank you. Happy with that. And your best shot for the catch.
Right, here we go.
It's a good ball from Gabriel outside off stump. Just drags him forward for the drive.
Okay.
Now we see whether it carries or not. Yeah, absolutely, it's out.
Okay.
The boos you hear are because it's in Yorkshire. But for me, that's gone under his fingers.
Underneath or not?
Well, the crowd is seeing. Well, the way the crowd see it is that the ball is on the ground, but it's an optical illusion. That I think this is out.
Well, the crowd see it as the ball is on the ground because Jonny Bairstow's batting. If this was Joe Root's second slip, they'd all cheer and say, "Hey!"
Remember, the soft signal is out.
Definitely out in my book.
I agree with you.
First angle again, if you can, or anything else that you have.
Well, umpire Rasmus is not convinced.
I think this is going to be given. You can't see the balls hit the ground for definite. The fingers definitely seem to be underneath. Here we go. There's another angle that's actually completely used. Well, you see the ball sort of does bounce up in the fingers, but it bounces off the fingers in my view.
Back to that very first one again.
I'm not convinced this is anything but out, to be honest.
I think that's out. Jason Holder is the fielder at slip, who claimed the catch immediately. We're seeing another replay now. It's
well, the West Indies are all breaking off now, sort of going back to position. And whether that's because they think it's now not out or not, I don't know. They seem to be gathering around as if this is going to get over.
I've got nothing conclusive to overturn that soft
There we go.
signal,
So the West
can you
Indies
please put out
double bluff
on the
themselves.
Right, there we go. It's out. It's been given out. No conclusive evidence to overturn it, and here we go. It's going to be confirmed to the crowd, and it's out. Bairstow's on his way.
Yes, absolutely out.
So we'll listen to what the crowd think of it. Well, they are booing because, I mean, if you're in your seat a long way away from the screen.
But they've just heard Murray Erasmus talking there. We can hear it. That's on the loudspeaker.
Yeah.
So Murray says there's nothing conclusive. Can you put out on the board? And yet the crowd still waited for it to say out, and then we're boo.
Well, Bairstow's on his way. He's getting some applause, warm applause for his 2 runs. I think that they feel sorry for him, but there's no doubt that, in my mind, that was out. And West Indies is making further progress today. 152 for 6. Gabriel with the wicket. Bairstow out for 2. Caught low down by Holder at slip, and Moeen is coming in at number 8.
Shannon Gabriel again. Really good footage of him, actually, when we just saw from side on a second ago. They put the big screen up of his bowling. What he is, he's a big, strong man, but he bowls over a braced front leg. Holder at the other end, the captain, when he bowls, he's a bit like Chris Tremlett, huge, tall man. He doesn't make the most of his bounce, by his leg bends as he bowls. But Shannon Gabriel, the reason he's got good pace, he's up in the 90s, really braced front leg, so it really the body hurls itself over the top of that braced front leg. And he just puts the ball in the right place. Good, honest seamer. As Agus said earlier, there's nothing subtle about him. No. I like that description. So you've saved. My rant is over at you, Simon.
Thank you.
We both agreed that you lied.
Oh, right, okay.
You went back on your word, and we have video footage of it as well. And we'll move on. We'll try and get past this. Whether I can, I don't know, but I'll try.
Do you want to shake hands?
Nope. We're not that far.
152 for 6. Well, you can watch the closing stages, the denouement, if you'd like to. You can watch the TMS 60th anniversary match for 30 days via the BBC iPlayer, or there's a pint-sized version on the BBC Sport app. So Moeen's in at number 8. England, West Indies got 3 slips and a gully in, 2 saving, 1 on the offside and on the on, and a fine leg in. Here is Gabriel, football stand end, bowls outside of Moeen's off stump, and there is no stroke. The lights are on. It was a lovely day this morning. Cloud has built up during the day, now it's just a bit murky.
They're just showing a replay of the catch again. I don't know why there's booing around the ground. It's a slip fielder myself. That's out, 100%. Even everyone in the England changing room, unless they're particularly one-eyed, will say, yeah, that's out. Can't have it both ways. If that were Joe Root taking the catch, the whole crowd would have cheered and said definitely out. So
I can see why there are people in the crowd who would object to that decision. I'll explain why in just a moment. Here is Gabriel.
Yorkshire.
Well, yeah, 2 reasons. Bowls to Moeen, he defends back up the pitch, and there's no run. I mean, first is that, it was a Yorkshire batsman given out. But also, if you're sitting, 50 yards away from the big screen, it looks, from a distance, it will look as if the ball has touched the ground. But they have HD televisions in their third umpire box, and we've seen on our own television monitor that when you go in close, you can see clearly you've got his fingers underneath.
What you're saying, because the ball did move upwards, if it hit the ground, it wouldn't have moved up. But it bounced almost vertically. It's hit his finger. It's got underneath his finger, and that's changed the direction of the ball.
That's often the way.
Absolutely.
When you see that sort of bouncing up motion of the ball.
It's the first part of the hand, absolutely.
Gabriel goes in and bowls to Moeen. He's off the mark, turning this down towards fine leg. Roach is there, going away to his left-hand side. Sends in the return to Dowrich, and 1 more to the total, 153 for 6. Everyone says, oh, yeah, look, it's bounced up, but often it hits the end of the fingers and then goes up into the palm of the hand.
The change of angle, because, physics dictates if it's hit the ground, it's going to carry on the same angle that it hit the ground. Do a bit of trigonometry, sine cos tan. But if it hits the hand, it will go vertically. It will almost seem to take off. So it therefore must have hit something to change its trajectory, and that is the fingers.
I think lots of catches have been given out, given not out on television replay that should have been given out.
I remember our colleagues on TV doing a demonstration years ago and proved conclusively. Tony Greig, I think it was, in Sri Lanka.
Gabriel bowls to Stokes, who drives into the offside, hits that firmly into the square. Just for a moment then, I thought he'd hit that in the air straight to cover.
Crowd catch.
It went so quickly, Kraigg nearly deceived the commentator. End of the over, 153 for 6. A lovely shot from Stokes, but straight to the fielder.
So Tony Greig went out with cameras, didn't he? And he proved in slow motion that this ball now, he put it on his fingers, put his fingers underneath the ball so up close you could see clearly it's not on the ground. Then they went to the angle where the off-field camera, and it looked like the ball was on the ground, like there was nothing underneath it. Why that hasn't been sort of taken into account by people who watch the game, maybe they didn't see it, maybe it should be repeated before every game.
I remember there was one in the World Cup in India where the third umpire was actually dropped after the match. It was a New Zealand game New Zealand Sri Lanka in Mumbai, and the third umpire gave it not out when clearly it was out, and he didn't umpire again in the rest of the tournament.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously as an umpire, as an official, you are trying to, get as far in the competition as the players are, aren't you? You want to umpire the semi-final and the final.
That's right.
So that was.
I think the story ended, and he never umpired again. No one heard of him again.
You do get marked. You do get marked down over time. All the umpires are assessed. If
you do anything that goes against the rules or the spirit of the game, you should be marked down drastically, especially the spirit of the game. Any game.
153 for 6. I don't know whether to come back and I think just leave it. Here's Roston Chase into the attack now. He bowls to Moeen, he drives towards cover. He's quite deep, but he's got some protection. It's short extra cover, so he can afford to stand a bit deeper.
Yes.
And actually now he's going back onto the boundary.
2 catching extra covers by look.
Yeah, changing the field after that. Man's going out to the cover boundary.
Trying to tempt Moeen Ali to either drive or slog over the line, against the line.
Chase bowls one that turns, but it was short. It was a strange one. Bowled into the pitch that turned, and Moeen left it.
Have you heard of a cooler name in world cricket than Roston Chase? Roston Chase.
It is a cool name, isn't it? Here he is trying to make another breakthrough outside the off stump, and no straight from Moeen. That one, the ball
definitely
before
needs his own show, doesn't he, on TV? Yeah, sorry, it's turning.
It really
he does
turn.
put a bit of a few revolutions on the ball. He did that at Edgbaston. I was quite impressed with him.
He's bowling from the Kirkstall lane end, and that turn and bounce there. Well, that's more bounce than anything.
No, there was turn again. Like I said, it's the wicket turns here these days. Never used to. When I first played at Headlingly, it was a nightmare for spin, but recently, definitely a bit of grip.
Chase into bowl to Moeen, and that straightens a fraction as well. Moeen playing cautiously in defence. Ball rolls away into the offside towards backward point, and there is no run. Just has the feel at the moment of another short game about it. 153 for 6. Chase into bowl, and forward goes Moeen, who defends into the offside. Holder steps forward to pick up, and there's no run. Moeen will look at that over and think there might be something in it for me later on in this game.
It's a good quick over that. Where's Aggers? Aggers loves his over rates. I reckon that was a 90-seconder from Roston Chase. Roston Chase.
Well, it needs to be as well, because we're 4 minutes before tea, and we're only 4 overs past the halfway mark in the day.
Yeah.
So we'll be
good old spinner.
6:30. They'll be conscious, perhaps, that they are behind in their over rate here, West Indies.
There's nothing more degrading as a spin bowler when the captain throws you the ball, pretends it's because he thinks you'll get a wicket. Yeah, good luck, mate. What field do you want? Hurry up. Just get that over rate back for us.
Yeah, well, there's a feel about it. Although, having said that, I mean, there is something there for Chase, and they've got 2 left-handers to bowl at, so it's perfect for him at the moment. Bishoo, you'd think, in theory, more effective against the right-handers, and Chase against the left-handers. He's turning the ball away from the bat. Here's Gabriel, 15th over, 2 for 35. Bowls to Stokes, who hits this high in the air, top edge over the head of slip, down towards the third-man boundary, and they get the single. Holder rushes back to field it. They thought they were in business for a moment there.
I did as well, yeah.
Stokes trying to swing the ball away on the leg side.
It's a wild swing as well from Stokes. From the edge short, just going to launch it out the ground from Gabriel. They really should be looking at Gabriel. So, right, he's a danger bowler here. He's causing some problems. Let's just wind our necks in, play him sensibly, attack Roston Chase at the other end. But
there's a toe ender from Stokes. He gets a single, takes him to 45. It's been streaky at times. Moeen on 154 for 6. Mike Bates on email, third umpire. I was at Edgbaston last week, and it wasn't always possible to clearly hear the umpire's voice on the referrals due to the general noise of the crowd.
Okay, I stand corrected then. I do apologise. I will say, though, at Edgbaston last week, I can completely understand that. If you're in the Holly stand, I doubt if you heard anything other than the magnificent atmosphere.
Now, it gets lively here, but that was livelier still, I think, last week at Edgbaston.
Great. Did you see the footage on the BBC of when they would just want their ball back, and everyone in fancy just sprinting down to one half of the ground? It was wonderful.
Gabriel now into Bolton Moeen, and Moeen plays that calmly in defence into the onside.
Give us a ball back. And the entire England team, I watched. There was a ball bowl, and Alastair Cook wasn't watching the cricket because he was
I think they applauded
staring
when
at the crowd. Yeah,
when the ball was given back.
It's great when stuff like that happens. The Edgbaston's just special for that. I'll never forget the guy dressed as Spider-Man climbing up the stanchions of the stand and swinging down. Absolute hero until the police kicked him out for it.
154 for 6. Gabriel, 2 for 36. Charging in to bowl to Moeen, who is beaten, roping forward there outside the off stump. Just waiting for Dowrich to throw that in the air. I thought I heard a noise on the way through. He is with the sieve. Stokes comes down to have a quick chat with Moeen. This must be because they don't want another over before tea. Jim in Cardiff, real cool cricket names. Swanee, have you forgotten Telston Payne?
Telston Payne.
Is it Telston or Thelston?
Telston. It's Telston Payne, the coolest left-hander in the history of cricket. He features once on this one-day video from 86-87. Plays the most cavalier square-cut shot you've ever seen to be caught behind. Big throw. Telston Payne. Yeah, Roston Chase and Telston Payne.
Here's Shannon Gabriel bowling full, dug out by Moeen into the onside. Picked up by Chase at mid-on.
They would be a dynamic law enforcement duo, wouldn't they?
Thelston Payne and
Payne
Roston
and Chase.
Yeah.
Chase and Payne. Hey, Thelston. Where are we going to get a wicket from, buddy? Something like that.
You're in the wrong job here, Swanee. Well, a lot of people would say that, but...
There it is again. That's the evil side of you coming out.
Should be a
just like I saw last night.
TV executive
Vicious.
thinking up new series.
Payne and Chase, I'll take it.
Gabriel back to his mark. 2 balls left in the over. A touch and go whether we get another over from before tea. Gabriel bowls short. Moeen ducks underneath it. Taken by Dowrich away to his right-hand side. Barely noticed Dowrich is keeping in the series.
It's good, a very good sign.
Probably a good thing, isn't it?
Very good sign, yeah. It's been very tidy. I must admit, I'm exactly with you. Halfway through the first Test match was when I realised
who the wicketkeeper
was. Yeah. I took it for granted it'd still be rammed in.
Well, he had his famous day out at Edgbaston, didn't he, when he had that piece of paper in his pocket and
talk now, Viv.
Took on Viv after getting his 100.
Taking on Vivian Richards, brave man.
One of the greatest batsmen ever to have lived. Gabriel bowls, and it's clipped away by Moeen for 1, possibly 2. Chases after it, and Moeen's coming back for a second. And I think that will be it for the afternoon session. And it has been a really interesting day, an absorbing day's cricket with West Indies fighting back in this series. They could be in an even better position than they are. They've dropped Stokes, they dropped Root early on, he went on to make 59. And England at tea, 156 for 6. And we have still 40 overs left in the day's play. We did have that delay, of course, when they couldn't get the sight screen right, when the advert was still on the sight screen. And that held up play for a while. But, 1 or 2 other things as well, but it's generally been a slow over rate. But England walking off at tea with something to ponder, and then West Indies perhaps giving themselves a chance here if they can wrap up this England innings and then get a score on the board. Stokes 45 not out. Moeen Ali is 3 not out. So at lunch it was 61 for 3. At tea it's 156 for 6. West Indies making good progress. Root 59, the only score of note apart from Stokes is 45 not out.